Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am your androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades, and this is the Neon Caster Twitch channel. I hope you're all doing well. Sorry we were running a little bit behind. We've had a couple of different tech bits and pieces to solve today. Including one of our players has had their Zoom entirely rebel just before we went live. So Ray is going to be joining us in a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to go and introduce our currently 3, soon to be 4 players for this evening. Let's go from the top. Rook. We're not on camera yet, but why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, what stuff you've been doing?
Hi. Yes, I'm Rook. I'm not used to going first, so here we go.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Yes, I'm Rook. I am mostly nowadays a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Fridays at... Please hold while I do time zone math. 1 p.m. PST, running Nathan's other game, Heartbeats in Perfect Sync, and I'm also in the process of setting up a podcast, which I can't talk about right now.
You have no idea how absolutely stoked I am that y'all are GMing my game. It makes me so happy. It genuinely makes me really, really happy. Thank you so much for being a fan of the funny little game that I made. I hope you've been enjoying running it.
Yeah, no, it's been very fun, and like it's truly like one of my favorite games, and I'm very excited to get into this one too.
No, I'll be talking a little bit about the game and my inspirations of it, partially to fill for time while we wait for Ray to join us, and partially because, you know, it was very exciting putting this together, and I just want to talk about the cool thing that we put together across this. Right, okay, next. Dave, please introduce thyself.
Hello, I'm Dave. I run games, I hack games, I ostensibly write them. I'm just happy to be here. I really like the theme, so gonna muck in.
Yeah. I think all of us have a strong appreciation for this era of like JRPG nonsense that we're channeling on this one.
It's kind of weird for me because I kind of missed it when it sort of first happened, and then sort of revisiting it later. It's not like a childhood thing, which is kind of really interesting.
There's definitely been old school JRPGs that I've revisited in my adulthood. On the side note, I'm very, very excited to go play the like HD re-release of Live Alive once that releases. That was a mid-90s SNES game that I've not got to play until the year of our Lord 2022. Also, thank you for the follow, Popper Effect. We are probably not going to be responding to chat as much once we're live, but you know, if you wanna get a shout out for following us and things like that, best get those follows in now. Yeah. Okay. Next up, why don't you introduce yourself, Tom?
Hello, everybody. Good to be here again. Probably most recent surface until Elden Ring comes out, and I'll probably disappear for another 3 months, I suspect. Thanks for having me again, Nathan. It's always a pleasure to come and play. I do enjoy the so it's been very fun playing the system, having a go at running it the once as well. So
yeah, you did also run it. We might talk a little bit about that near the end of the session. And how that went. Not in a kind of like shading you. I'm just genuinely interested to hear you talk about how the earlier version of the game ran. Yeah. Okay. To talk a little bit, I can talk about Ballad of Conjurers with all of our faces present. So let's go and do that. Okay, yeah, there we go. Hi. So Ballad of Conjurers is inspired by a very specific era of JRPGs. I wonder if you can tell what genre and era of JRPGs it is by looking at my stream layout. I wonder if... they're saying you're looking fabulous, by the way, Dave. With the shades. But yes, you know, I have a soft spot for the kind of like turn of the century JRPGs. Golden Sun wasn't like my first JRPG. That probably would have been Pokemon like Red and Blue, actually. I guess that's a lot of people's first JRPG. Or at least of my era. But Golden Sun, I think, was one of the first like epic storyline JRPGs that I ever played, and it maybe has its flaws. It's maybe a little bit wordy. It maybe has a lot of systems that don't really matter, as opposed to just kind of like, you know, summoning the biggest earth elemental over and over again until everything dies. But it had a charm, it had a whimsy that I'd never seen before, because I'd actually played any other like Final Fantasy games up to that point. There is a good friend of mine, Bowie the Hero, who is a speedrunner. He's a RPG speedrunner. He speeds runs Golden Sun primarily, Golden Sun 1 and 2, but also a handful of other kind of like Camelot RPGs. He's a big fan of the Shining Force series as well. And while I could never ever play a video game that fast or that well, because Bowie also has a theatre background. He once talked about how the Shining Force games were essentially like an opera in terms of the melodrama of the characters betraying each other and revealing things about themselves, and lords and ladies all kind of stabbing each other in the back. And I'm like, yeah, that's sick actually. I like we have we have regular opera, we have space opera, but what about this JRPG idea? What is that as opera? And I was like, oh, adventure opera. I think that is what I would probably describe those kind of like narratives as. And then on the train ride back from Christmas break, while being rattled about, I kind of on a pen and paper wrote this game. I have no idea how I managed to convert my like juddery scribblings on Notepad into an actual tabletop RPG, but we managed it. And now, after a handful of playtests and my friends being very kind as we've been building things out, we're finally ready to demo it for y'all this evening. Oh, we have Ray! Yes, amazing! We have Ray, and now I need to go and fix everybody's... I now need to go fix everybody's thing. Hold on. Hi, hello.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm genuinely so glad you're here. I'm really glad we were able to make this work. We're going to pass back to this while I fix things. And it means that we get to talk a little bit more about JRPGs of the era that we like while I go and fix the layout. So why don't you introduce yourself, Ray?
Hi, I am Ray, Slayer of Tech Goblins, Destroyer of...
Nice.
That was I had to jump through a million hoops to sort that out. Yeah, hi. I mostly do TTRPG stuff. That's me. That's what I do.
Yeah, we were talking about the JRPGs that really like influenced us. Or I was talking about the JRPGs that really influenced me when I just started kind of getting into video games. So I'd be interested in everybody actually going around the table talking about a JRPG that you really enjoyed or that this game reminds you of. That'd be sick. I'd love that. Whoever would like to go first.
I'll definitely chip in just because you've already mentioned Shining Force, and that was most definitely just like probably my introduction to that style of media at a very young age. As a friend discovered it and was like, oh, you have to play this. Look, it goes into movies when you attack. I mean, 3 frames of animation, but you know, it was a movie as far as we were concerned at the time. But
I've never played any of those yet. I clearly need to.
No, they were very solid. Also a good mix of quite fun and funky character design, and I say quite, as you said, the overarching sort of operatic plot, and of course the staple of JRPGs, you missing checking something, then finding out 3 days later that you couldn't go back and get it because it's now lost.
The curse of missable items. Awful.
That town has descended into the abyss. That character that you missed in the zoo, you can no longer get. He is dead. Like, oh no.
Oh no, that would give me. I'm not a completionist kind of person, but that would mess me up. That would mess me up really bad. What do you mean I could miss this? What do you mean I'm not going to get the 7th party member?
The risk of it not happening is just it's a terror.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? What? You said that you've been playing them more in adulthood rather than in childhood. Which ones in particular have you been checking out?
Well, it's like after a lot of bothering me about them, my partner at the time kind of got me Final Fantasy. Wait, which was the last one? It was 15. Was the Boys in Cars one? Wasn't it?
Yeah. Gay Boy Band Adventure.
I was like, hang on, that's the wrong number. But yeah, he was 15, and yes, I was like, yeah, Pretty Boy Road Trip. And then it's like, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I knew bits about it. Because there's all sorts of things that have become sort of memes and become like staples of other genres, and a lot of stuff that was also sort of fed there and back from like tabletop games and like D&D and Exalted and things like that. So a lot of the tropes I kind of knew, and it was like, oh yeah, and, I kind of get this all now. And I also work from home, so I have like speedruns up quite a bit, including the Valley the Hero ones, which I was going to go, ooh, but then I realised I was on mute.
Nice! Excellent! Yeah. I'm glad that you've also checked their stuff out.
I really like his speedruns. So.
Yes,
yeah, like
awesome.
I only watch like when he's part of the marathons and things. So yeah.
When was it? I guess it was summer last year where he was doing speed runs of Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth, which is what a name for a video.
I have not seen that one, but
it's based on like the Record of Lodoss War anime.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's like a Metroidvania kind of deal, but you know, just like basically screaming in like the donation incentive messages, being like, Bowie, yo, what's up? It's always nice when it's somebody you know who's kind of going through all those bits and pieces. Ray, when we were talking before in our session 0, you said you had quite a few JRPGs that you were particularly familiar with. Why don't you tell me about some of those?
Oh yeah, this is my jam.
Yeah,
I love JRPGs just in general. They definitely informed a lot of my just general media consumption for quite a few years. Final Fantasy is kind of the obvious choice. 6 specifically is probably the one early that informed a lot of my tastes on JRPGs. The other 2 that are kind of standing out to me right now are Chrono Cross, definitely more Chrono Cross than Chrono Trigger, and The Legend of Dragoon. A little bit more obscure, but a very, very good one. Very hard to get a hold of nowadays in some places, especially in the UK.
Physical copies of old games for sure. And we've got the layout fixed now. But yeah, and everybody's in the right place and everything. We didn't break it. Thank you everybody for being patient while I was sorting tech. But yeah. I haven't yet. I'm yet to play Chrono Cross, but that's getting an HD re-release soon as well, I believe. So.
I squealed. I squealed at as soon as I saw it being released. I'm very, very excited. Just really thrilled to go back into the world, and with the music as well. There's just Chrono Cross has some of the best music in JRPGs. There, I said it.
Yeah, for sure. When I get it myself and start to play it and inevitably get stuck, I'll have to kind of message me like, Ray, what do I do? I'm a baby and don't know how to play video games.
Just shoot me a message. I got you. Don't worry about it.
Because like I could go on Game FAQs, but I would rather ask somebody in the know who has that inside shit going on. You know?
A friend of mine did that with Legend of Dragoon. There's one specific boss section in Legend of Dragoon that is incredibly difficult, even if you know what you're doing. And I just got a message from my friend one day just going, so I booted this up on an emulator. Help!
No, that definitely me energy of trying out new stuff. Right. we have everybody here. The tech is set up. Thank you, everybody. While we've been getting stuff going, shall we go and engage with the mechanics of this game? While we introduce our characters, shall we do that? Stop that music. Let's go find. Oh gosh, it'd be great if I could actually go and find the specific song that I wanted to play instead of just stopping it and just leaving it. I'm a professional. I've been doing this for years. Good God. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Ooh. Okay. So, I'm going to go read the box text of Ballad of Conjurers, and then we can kind of get into kind of talking about the basics of our characters, because we've built our characters already in advance, but we're going to do some of the world building on air for y'all, because world building is actually a pretty big part of the game. So, Ballad of Conjurers, an adventure opera tabletop RPG. You are part of a band of conjurers, summoners traveling the lands who are deeply attuned to the magic of the planet. Yet, there are endless forces that would twist the planet's magic for themselves. Where do you stand in this global play? So building characters in this game is actually pretty simple. I've been getting into, maybe, even though I've resolved that I don't actually like Morkborg that much, I know, a cardinal sin to say in tabletop Twitter right now. I did gain an appreciation for a character generation roll table. So we roll 1d8 in this game because they look like tiny crystals. It's thematic to both decide our native inherent element and our calling. Our element is pretty straightforward. You can be like fire or water or metal or darkness. And our calling kind of hits on a lot of kind of like classic call to actions in this kind of game. Like maybe you're caring for the destitute, maybe you're robbing from the rich, maybe you are escaping your birthright. So why don't we go around the table a little bit and kind of talk about our various characters. For Ray's character and Dave's character, I actually don't have their pronouns yet, so I need to go and add that to the thing that you currently see on screen. So why don't we start with Ratri the Grey Muse? Why don't you tell me a little bit about Ratri?
Hello. Extremely funny that you emphasized all the choices I made. Ratri, the Grey Muse, Darkness Summoner, trying to escape their birthright, wielding a pure white battle violin. They attempt to fill the role of hero when they were born to be a villain.
Oh, I didn't check, by the way. We did all of this, and I didn't check if our levels are okay, but nobody has said that we're too loud or too quiet, so I think we've escaped. We got through it, okay? If it's bad, please say it. I will fix it. Thank you. Louella. Tom, why don't you introduce to me Louella?
Louella Druantia, the Fallen Saint, is a metal summoner of the Church of Fate. Signature weapons, a pair of animated greatswords, truth and inevitability.
Cool.
Been cursed since birth to be able to know the fate and how another summoner will die by removing her veil and looking onto them with her eyes.
Ominous. I'm into it. Ray, why don't you tell me about Moo?
Cool. Yeah, I'm Moo. I'm a big tree who came to life, who essentially their entire purpose is to be recounting the legends, to inform adventurers, old and new, of the good things that have happened in the past and the bad things that have happened in the past, in order to ensure that the mistakes that were made will not be repeated, but will be remembered. They have a big flail branch flail branch. There we go. Got there. 4th try. Just a big splayed stick with these kind of like little wooden orbs at the end, essentially, that you spin around and use as a big flail. Who also seems to have a knack for cooking, which is rather ironic, considering they don't eat themselves. So,
but they do know what plants out there will poison you and which ones are curatives.
Yes.
I think somebody might need to, if they've got Discord open, set yourself to Do Not Disturb, because I think the pings are also coming through your microphone. One of you might need to go and check. It's not a big deal, though. So just to confirm, Muse pronouns, are they them?
Yes, indeed.
Got it.
They will. They're rather fluid, so they will accept anything.
We can edit our pronouns anytime we choose. We have the power. We have the ability, both in and out of tabletop RPGs. Who knew?
Oh yeah.
Hacks. I've got that game genie plugged into my gender, where all and no genders simultaneously. Let's go.
Yes, the gender genie. Back at it.
I need to run that in a tabletop RPG at some point. I would love to be a gender genie. Anyway, let's not get distracted. Dave, please tell me about Kniphofia.
So Kniphofia is from a race of diminutive plant creatures. Kniphofia in particular has a load of flame-like protrusions that kind of grow out of his head, and though he's a member of a race of plant creatures, but unfortunately his summoned element turned out to be fire, which is, a little bit dangerous, especially as like one of the things these creatures like to do is like draw things on paper and stuff and build origami houses. It became a bit of a problem. So they've gone out. They were very kindly, advised to go out into the world and help people out there, not around here, because they're quite, energetic about it. And I'm trying to decide what annoying little phrase they end all their sentences with.
Let's see if you can keep that up for 3 hours. Dave comes up with the best character concepts, Tempest says in chat. I won't be responding to chat very often, but occasionally we'll call those out. I think you gave Kniphofia he, him pronouns there?
Yes, I was kind of not sure until I started describing him.
We play to find out in tabletop RPGs, as they say.
I still haven't named the type of creature that Kniphofia is. So if we do get a chance to check chat, we might steal yours. So there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, the I know it's like an existing kind of like European myth fairy, but like a Spriggan kind of comes to mind. Maybe because it has sprig like in a budding part of a tree. But
I could be a Spriggan for fook.
Oh, you are gonna commit to that? Okay. Nice.
It's a bad thing, foo.
We got to have the mascot character somewhere. Right. So, before we go and get into our adventure proper, we do a handful of bits and pieces to kind of set up the theatre of the world, because there's many different types of theatre, and I wanted to kind of find a way of encouraging people to really think about the collective tone of the game without putting people in an arm bar and saying, "Act, damn you, act!" So we have a list of kind of like what I've called theatrical flavors, and we've already selected some to go and add to our session, which was useful because it meant that it could inform some of the music choices for the sesh. So it's partially improvised. And the 4 tones that were selected were gothic, whimsical, surreal, and heroic. So as we go through our session, we're going to be occasionally running into moments where we like, oh, what kind of tone of this dramatic moment are we going to do? What kind of angle are we taking? And we could always look to our session tone, our themes, to give us just a little bit of a steer towards how we might be able to push the story along. We'll see if that works. This is also a playtest. All of our characters, they do not have HP. Even though this is based on JRPGs, we're specifically not using the mechanics of JRPGs. Instead of having HP, they have fighting spirit, which is a resource that they can spend to do cool stuff, which starts at 5. And if they run out of fighting spirit at 0, they lose their will to continue adventuring. And that can mean whatever that means to the player. That might mean that they have a heel face turn. It might mean that they go back home. It might mean that they die. We'll see. We'll see what happens when people's fighting spirit gets low. We'll find out. But to restore your fighting spirit is to do things within the storyline, having those scenes that hit those session tones. So if they're getting low on that fighting spirit, they might just need to hit a little bit of whimsy. They might need to have a heroic moment. Things might need to get a little surreal. And then that will restore their fighting spirit anew, if that makes sense. Good. So with all of that out of the way, let's go and establish how our characters know each other. We are going to make sure that each of these characters knows 2 other people, which means that there's going to be one person that they don't know. And we're going to just talk a little bit about their kind of backstory. Let's go find a fun little jam for determining backstory. Let's get maybe this. Yeah. I'm glad I'm getting the response that we're looking for. Excellent. Okay.
Magi is everything.
It's such a good song. So who I think since you're popping off, right? Who do you know? Who do we want to know? Who do you want to build a bit of backstory with?
Well, I feel like I probably know our other resident plant friend.
Are you a friend of the Spriggans, Fufu?
I think more than likely, I think it was actually a little moment of whimsy that kind of drew me towards you, just looking at you like, you're a plant, and you're on fire. That's probably kind of bad, but you seem to be rocking it well. All right, and just kind of following out of curiosity and kind of being pulled into the pulled into the quest that way. I feel
You put the mascot character in the front of the group.
just like, okay, this is fine. I'm cool with this.
I wonder if that means that at the stage of this like multi-disc video game, that character arc introduced both of you at the same time. There was maybe 2 separate storylines that involved each of you separately, and then by the end of that little arc, it's like, wait, they know each other? Because we are very much at the point that this story takes place midway through disc 1. Some stuff has occurred. We're establishing maybe a little bit of what is... actually, I'm interested, Kniphofia and Moo. What was the kind of like quirky incident that happened that involved both of you in the main plot line?
I'm kind of like, I'm leaning more towards whimsical. I imagine being approached by people just like, Moo, the forest is in danger, it's on fire. Moo like rushing to go and help and just being like, oh, hi, yeah, no, that's you're still
fire
doing
for food.
Maybe tone it down just a touch, just a little bit. Just no, okay.
It was all a big misunderstanding. Right. I get you.
I used the fire to make it better for food.
Hey, lots of forests in the world burn down partially during summer so it can regrow. So, that tracks. That's a real world thing. Okay, this feels like we can make this a connecting point to either Ratri or Louella. So, Kniphofia, how do you know either Rook or Ratri or Louella? What's the moment that you ran into one of them?
So we got the escaping. They're both escaping your birthright people. But did one of you do a heel face turn at any point? And because maybe I went to go. You were a villain, so I went to confront the villain for food.
Well, I mean, Ratri's deal is that they were destined to be a villain, and they've been like, no, can't do that, nope. So that feels like that's formed there. Go ahead.
So maybe this really enthusiastic Spriggan just showed up at your door and was like, I'm gonna defeat the villain for food. And
I think there's this shot of Ratri's throne room of darkness, whatever that means. I'm not gonna describe it any further. You could picture what you'd like. And then it's all dark and gloomy and edgy. And then literally the doors kicked in and there's this burst of light with this Spriggan who's just got fire surrounding them, and Rachi's just kind of hello?
Come face me, villain, for food.
Oh, I wasn't expecting. Oh, okay. And Ratri just kind of grabbing a violin off the shelf and just kind of yes, let's battle, and then gets that entire body just handed to them.
I get you. I if any of you have played the first Paper Mario on the N64, where it starts out with Mario being like, I'll fight you, Bowser, and he just gets clapped immediately. So yes, yeah, no, I definitely see that. Okay, sick. So Ratri, how do you know either Moo or Louella? I think Louella still needs to be looped in, I think. So maybe how do you know Louella?
Yeah, I feel Louella makes sense since we're both escaping our birthright, and we both also have fate-inspired talents. Yours is definitely more of a more certain talent than mine is. We do have, I guess this would count as sort of surreal. What if at some point during one of our arcs in disc 1, there's kind of a period of several nights where we both just see each other in our dreams, and our dreamscapes are wild and inspired by both of our histories, and that's kind of the start of a connection before we meet in real life.
No, I like that. I think one of the things that was crossing my mind, certainly given Ratri's changing of fate, was at some point she did a reading for him, and it was along the lines of, you will die by the hands of the hero, and then he didn't, and this has never happened in all the sort of hundreds, if not 100 upon hundreds of people that she's done a reading of, and this is she's attached himself to this adventure to find out who is this person who's managed to thwart the strands of fate, or has he just managed to delay it?
Okay, yeah, juicy. Love a good dream dungeon. Meeting each other in dreams, got to meet in real life and see, maybe even fight each other. Who knows? You don't know if you're friend or foe until you meet. It kind of feels with the gothic energy that both Ratri and Louella have makes it feel like they are maybe from the same kind of part of the world. Maybe we'll find that out. I think that means to close the loop. Louella, how do you know Moo? How did you run into Moo?
I think, given Moo, I'm assuming is some ancient, be someone that she approached as a child, moving away from the great temple city, trying to come to terms with this power that we've got the typical JRPG angst of, I know how everybody's going to die, and they get upset when I tell them this.
We don't talk about Louella. Yeah. And
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I guess it's interesting that, Louella is very much about seeing the future, and Moo is about recounting the past, and whether there are similarities or conflicts in your kind of perspectives on that matter. Maybe that seems pretty interesting to find out. Moo, what do you think of Louella, by the way? Just in your encounter in Louella's youth.
I think there's this kind of protective but also kind of concerned aspect around the relationship. I think Moo looks at looking too far forward as a problem, and is like, if you look too far forward, you eventually forget what's behind you, kind of thing. So I feel like Moo is just the slightly annoying kind of like mentor figure that's constantly like, okay, no, but reel it back. We need to look at here, and we need to look at a few steps before, and then we'll be able to progress. But you can't forget about. Oh no, you're gone. Okay, that's like.
After all, who is more grounded than a tree, I suppose.
Exactly. It's all about slowing down and taking root for a second, and just experiencing things and remembering what happened. And yeah, I feel like there's definitely a bit of a protective kind of stance from Moo.
This is vaguely related, but just something you said, Nathan, made me think of this. What would a JRPG version of We Don't Talk About Bruno sound like? Just We Don't Talk About Louella.
Yeah. I mean, it's not often that JRPGs get like a full musical number-y kind of thing, but I also really like the idea of this video game, this like PS1 era video game, trying to stage a musical with like 3D environments and 2D sprites. So they've spent a lot of time drawing unique poses specifically for this music number of of the various like. Is Louella like a rich kid? Do they come from a rich family, or are they?
I think church orphans probably going to be the go-to thing, sort of brought up. Be trying to portray that very sort of emotionless, quiet sort of character, introverted, as it were.
We definitely get a kind of like the opening song in The Beauty and the Beast, where all the people in the village are telling us why Belle is so strange. We get that kind of number. about Louella, and it is mixed with We Don't Talk About Bruno, and like, she's so strange, she predicted that my house would burn down, it's her fault, I hate her, is for sure. It's not my fault that I decide to just leave open flames in my home 24/7, it's hers. She's the problem.
It was a fire, well.
I think, okay, cool. Let's go, and with our character relationships cemented, let's go and shift it a little bit to let's get some of this. Nice. We talked a little bit previously off air about our world, because one of the steps of building up the game world is cementing one thing that's true about the world each. And then we can discuss what happened, in the last arc. What just happened just before the chapter we're currently playing. So off air, we decided the following things are true about the world. That conjurers are rare and powerful enough to be the linchpin of the community or its ruin. One of the major religions in the world worships fate as an entity. Conjurers are considered to be blessed individuals, and the church can divine how they will one day die, but not when, just how. Anything that could be considered a deity is actually just what mortals are calling/blaming good or ill fate. Deities are just powerful entities. They can't be contained by conjurers and are therefore ordained by humanity as gods or sometimes as mythics. A lot of the world is shaped by previous dead gods, often the bodies of the fallen. And finally, there are 8 moons, one for each element, and the astrology of the world is very much based on their phases. No one has seen the 8th moon in decades. Hence our layout. As a result of that kind of world building, we've resolved that each of our players is essentially born under an elemental moon. They look to that moon for their power, which is pretty much exactly a plot point in Skies of Arcadia. So we're already hitting the themes like spot on. Excellent. So with all of that said, let's go and decide what happened in the last chapter of this game. We're just gonna kind of like chat amongst ourselves to try and work out Wagwan here, but there's 3 things we're trying to work out in particular. Who was a key character the party encountered in the previous arc? What was a triumph the party celebrated? And what was a betrayal that has made things tense and interesting? So we know that there's been recently at some point a misunderstanding of a fire in the local forest. We know that there has been a big conflict between being able to see fate and maybe that fate isn't what it's cracked up to be. Maybe at some point, each of you, because you're all conjurers, have been told how you're going to die, but you don't know when. Maybe one of you is predicted to die in a fire.
I mean, was Ratri the last arc's villain?
I like that idea.
Recruited, yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds good to me. So like it would have actually that would make sense with like Louella and Muse knowing each other for a while, and then it seems like Kniphofia and Muse knew each other for a while, so I would be the newest person in this group.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What was the villainous plot, quote unquote, that the other 3 foiled? It might not actually be that villainous. They might have just understood the situation, but what did they foil?
I think Ratri. I think like jumping off that like dark and gloomy throne room. I think like Ratri was drawing on the powers of darkness to just redecorate, but like redecorate in an evil way. I think like kind of like drawing power from the land, or at least trying to draw power from the land around them, like however they could, like in the land's shadows, to like form their evil lair, and then got foiled by the power of friendship. And probably like a flaming meteor made of metal and wood.
I like that. I think that we need to establish a key character who isn't you that was involved in that arc. Did you have like an interior designer kind of like co-minion or something? Like I like the in the Disgaea games there's a mini boss character who's just called mini boss, who kind of shows up every so often and keeps being defeated as a mini boss.
The Dark Adonis.
Yeah, who was your mini boss, Ratri? Who was your interior designer that got like beaten up?
I think their name is Des with a Z. Aina.
Des Aina. Yes. Gotcha.
I think they are. Like they're not a conjurer. But I think they are someone who knows much about both conjuring and also interior design. What do you all think about them? Do you think they were just a mini boss, or do you think they were an NPC you knew before?
I'm considering the fact that maybe Des has been a common thread in a load of like mysterious and dark circumstances that we've stumbled across, and like maybe the whole turning the land to darkness thing as a side effect. Maybe it's something they kind of put you up to.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of that, where you've got quite like it's sort of being a bit of foreshadowing for what's going to be the main threat plot coming in, with a bit of the sort of gothic themes of it. And it's something to do with a mysterious entity or organisation that's trying to bring back the missing moon. And this was like some sort of trick to siphon off the energy in order to conduct forward their evil schemes.
Two things. Foreshadowing, quite literally. And I really like that idea, like, especially because, like, I think we decided that the 8th, like, missing moon was, like, the darkness moon. Like, the idea of, like, someone, like, trying to gather enough darkness energy to bring back the darkness moon.
It's just Kingdom Hearts in reverse. Oh, no.
Yes.
Good.
I am
yes,
Riku.
Yes. Good. Uh-huh. I'm perfectly fine with this. I'm perfectly fine with this. I love that. Okay. Yeah. So, to that end, what was the triumph the party celebrated?
Did we manage to fix like something that we didn't think we'd be able to fix? I'd like to make it like, something to do with like maybe the area that he was being consumed by darkness. Maybe make it like a little thing, like something just nice, like a nice heartwarming moment. Like we managed to like save a particular person or a particular place, or like, we managed to fix the school roof or something, and there was that lovely little cutscene with all the, like, to be fair, it probably took about like 7 hours of like grinds to get all the materials, but it's side quest accomplished.
I like the idea that you maybe use some of these evil redecoration materials and purpose them elsewhere. So you've got like the curtain fabric of Blackest Night, and you've kind of just used them in a surprisingly kind of like wholesome purpose somewhere in the space. I like that. You've used it to kind of I don't know. Going and like helping an orphanage or whatever, I think is too on the nose. I think we can go slightly more complex than that.
I mean, what is the orphanage going to do with that fount of endless blood anyway? I mean, they'll think of something. Black pudding, I don't know.
See, my favorite side quests are the ones that you complete by utter accident.
Okay.
So the thought that came into my head was like the darkness, like being siphoned into this point created like an issue with the water supply or something. So when it all fixed and we all walked outside and everything, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, thank you saved the town," and we're like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Is that because it was all actually spelled out, but we happened to miss that area?
We were meant to explore like the underground sewers and find the secret as to what was going. No, we just skipped that side quest.
Yeah, but we found
straight to the end.
Yeah, we found the boss room first and then locked in.
I like that. In solving this this dark redecoration arc, you've also incidentally saved the town, and upon them trying to shower you with riches and praise, you were like, well, okay, thanks, and just kind of took it. Okay, cool.
It's just the due of a true hero for food.
Kniphofia is just a hero entirely incidentally and by accident. I love this. Okay, cool. What?
They definitely think they're a hero, whether they're actually a hero.
No, for sure. What was a betrayal that has made things tense and interesting?
I think presumably this designer suddenly turning out to be not who we initially thought. He was a semi sort of background NPC, but turns out he's been turned to the side of the villains. And
have all of us helped him out in the past in like our little pre-storylines before we got together? And the rest was like, I might have like, gone and done some like stuff to sort of like do some sort of fetch quests for Des and stuff like that, and gone and like there's that tutorial where you're lighting all the lanterns and stuff, and and that kind of thing. And I've helped out Des because he seemed like a nice, if ominous person.
Mm-hmm. That is also a very Golden Sun thing. I think the start of that game is specifically going and doing a thing that you think is supposed to be useful, and then you actually just destroy your entire town by doing it. And you're like, oh no, I was tricked. I was tricked by this red, blonde-haired lady and dashing blue-haired man. Oh no, oh no. Yeah, no, great. I like this, and now I actually have the villainous gang name that I'll reveal later. Thank you for cementing that in place. I love this. Okay, fantastic. I think one last question is what is the name of, like, I guess this is Ratri's home duchy or whatever. I know high fantasy names for locations. Duchy sounds like an appropriate name here because you probably have a manor house. What's the this area name?
I leave it open to the table.
What's their main export before the darkness?
Oh no, they make musical instruments because like making Stradivarius is like violins was such a big industry of a specific part of Italy for a while. I like the idea that, you know, this part of the world is known for fine crafting of instruments, which is why your character has that as a weapon. Ratri.
It's not quite as peaceful as the next town over that makes woodwind instruments. That one's a veritable flutopia.
Okay, another thing set about the world. Different kind of like areas have kind of got other kind of like types of musical instruments that they make as a main export. Okay, cool, noted.
How Mendini as the name of the town, given it's maybe a brand of violin, having just
no, that's how I come up with names all the time, just by thematic googling. So Mendini, yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so different kind of like settlements have different kind of like prestiges in instruments. Okay,
Very
sick.
whimsical.
Yeah, it's very whimsical. And I mean, well, okay. I mean, I won't have the soundtrack for it, but you might go to the City of Harpsichords. We'll see. Yeah, no, I don't think I have a soundtrack in my list that'll do that, but it's fine. We'll navigate. We'll navigate. It's fine.
We're gonna be in the giant piano and go dodge the hammers.
Okay. All right. So we reconvene in the city of Mendini as we load the save from last time. A text crawl passes a screen as it explains who our heroes are. A band of unlikely heroes. Are they even heroes? Well, they seem to think they are. They've managed to save the city of Mendini from darkness that was poisoning their water supply, but now the fountains run bounteous, and the public have celebrated and held a festival long into the early hours of the morning. But as a new day dawns, our four adventurers set out off on the road for the next location, knowing that their previous allies may have turned out to be villains. This is Ballad of Conjurers. Okay, so what's the kind of like a little town like overworld like, you know? No, you're not looping. Shush. Thank you. That's right. Don't test me. Yeah, we kind of get a shot of the kind of like overworld. What does the overworld look like? Oh, a little bit of an audio issue. Check 1 2, check 1 2. I'm coming through okay. I did stop the background music if that's the audio issue. We're okay. Do let me know if there are other issues going.
I'm thinking it's kind of like not like flat and map like. It's like loads of odd shapes, like these kind of almost like contorted, like twisted sort of these god bodies, like, you know, next to and on top of, and like, you know, almost like one's falling into an older one and things like that.
Ooh,
like helplessly contwined.
Let's get some of this maybe.
if they're entities, maybe they're like made of different things. So there could be like one that's like, you know, there's shining crystals and there's like stuff growing out of it, and maybe like one of them is sort of like almost entirely metallic, and like some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I like that this is... I think it almost looks a little bit patchwork from zoomed out, to kind of give it that additional bit of whimsy. Thank you for noticing the audio issue, by the way. I think I've just turned off the noise gating on output capture, and hopefully that should fix it. Right, yeah, no, to match with the kind of like whimsiness of everything else kind of going on, I like the idea of zoomed in close. It looks like gigantic, it looks like huge structures, but like pulled out to the world map, you can almost see the stitching of the different bodies of previous gods that have kind of combined to each other. Yeah, we got it. Thank you for letting us know that there was that error. Got it fixed, thank you. And the area that you're on, I think it's kind of like a rich kind of like red-purple, like a purple sweet potato kind of color. Matching the kind of like darkness element environment that Ratri was in. And this is going to be taking a step to kind of new lands, moving across this kind of like ripple stitch into an area that is, I think, a warm and inviting bright blue. Yeah. It is in fact, I think near the coast, we see the distant endless ocean lapping against this bright blue coast in a strange color, maybe a kind of a light shimmery iridescent gray, and the big like point on there are two big points on the map. I'm gonna say one, and I'll let you the others kind of decide what the other is, because we're just gonna be making this up as we go along. One of them, there is a big cliff overlooking the sea, and there is a very elaborate looking castle that is atop that cliff outlook, and there is a second settlement in this kind of like blue area of the world map. What is it?
And part of me likes the idea of something that's almost been like cupped in the hands of one of these deity entities.
Ooh, yeah. There's like a mountain range that are like fingers curling out of the ground over this place, and it's kind of in shadow as a result of the huge fingers that kind of enshrine this area. That's sick. Nice. Who wants to add a detail? Another detail.
Oh. I think this castle's a monastery. I think it's some kind of conjurer's monastery. People, where people come to surround themselves by the cadaver of a great ancient power and find this place to meditate. And just outside of this kind of this clasp, I think there's some kind of tower. I think there's some kind of like, some kind of tower that's like towards another section of this large body. That's there's always a collection of people traveling to and from at the beginning and the end of the day. It's like the constant of this little area. There's always people exiting and leaving at the beginning and end.
Okay, I think I'll building on those ideas together, and we'll resume. I like the idea that there is maybe a settlement down the hill from this gigantic kind of like castle on the cliff with the hand, and that settlement down there actually has ribs enshrining it. Perfect white, picked clean by animal and blast of sea air, like a cage around this settlement. Giving it a decidedly ominous feel, but they maybe find it peaceful. So yeah. Any other details we want to add about this area?
Ooh, I think kind of like piggybacking off the like idea of the ribs. I think like many like people would argue that like because I guess like the kind of like thing you do is kind of like assign like things like elements like so most people consider like the ribs to be part of like what was once a like earth deity, but like at night it glows ever so slightly, and I think maybe there are like scholars in the area who are like trying to like study it to see whether it's like a perfect combination of two elements just in the wild.
Yeah, is this the first town that was forged under 2 moons? Is that even possible? Ooh. Okay. Give me good big ideas. I love this. Sick. I think that's been everyone. Has that been everybody?
All I was gonna say is I don't know if you've got a plan for the intro, but one thing that would be really interesting is if there was like an old friend of one of us who is one of the scholars who's studying it.
Okay, I love that. We can do that.
And they live in like some crazy rickety building that they've built up the side of one of the ribs or something.
Okay, perfect. We see like a little I think like a little tiny wooden carved doll of whoever is the lead in the party kind of just hop across the world map towards this settlement, the settlement of Ossuary by the Sea. I mean, I am maybe partially basing this on Whitby now. I'm now thinking of the gigantic whalebone gate that is at the start of Whitby. And yeah. We zoom into this area now. We reach Ossuary by the Sea, and we kind of get like a panning shot of the kind of like entrance to the town, and we get to see on either side of frames these gigantic pillars of bone that are rising on either side of the frame, enshrining in the distance a castle as the sea waves slam into the bottom of the cliff, sending a big spray of sea behind the castle, giving it a strange hazy aura on this kind of like afternoon day. And as you go into this town, there is naturally a cutscene. Let's get another kind of like quirky kind of vibe. Yeah, there is a as Dave said, a kind of like shack that has been like welded on basically to one of these ribs, and it kind of overlooks the opening of town. And as you kind of approach, a kind of like long, surprisingly long arm kind of wiggles out of one of the windows and kind of waves at you all. Hello, it's good to see you again, my friend. Moo, it has been so long. You haven't forgotten me, have you?
Oh, well, there's a lot of... No, I'm just kidding. It's good to see you again. And I'll reach and just kind of hold both my hands out.
Oh yeah, the arm snakes down from this, what would be on the second floor kind of like height, down and kind of firmly shakes you by the hand. Oh no, you definitely wouldn't forget your old friend Scaldress, would you?
Oh, most certainly not. How could I? Look at you. Glowing. Wonderful.
Absolutely, and not because I am just genuinely burning with a passion for research. Another hand kind of like comes out of the window and using both the floor and the side of the building just wrenches themselves out this disgusting stick figure of a lad that just super tall. Yeah. They stand. They have very nice shoes, immaculately polished brown leather, and like pinstripe trousers, and the rest of them is out of frame. They are too tall.
Burning with passion's a great way to be for food.
Oh yes, yes. You're a fellow fire mooner, I see.
That's me.
We don't normally see your kind around the coast. They say it's a little bit too moist for your inclinations, but I must say that I find the sea air quite refreshing. Maybe I'm strange. You wouldn't say I'm strange, would you, Moo?
Strange? No. You are, well, all of you in your splendor and your glory. You are wonderful. A good companion, a fine old friend.
Oh, good. Because obviously if we weren't friends anymore, well, we would have to start a feud. And the last time I checked, you were very flammable. But enough of that. I just wanted to know what you're doing in this neck of the woods.
Leaving promptly, hopefully, sighs Louella with a, I can't put up with this crap for another not again sort of every bloody village.
Come for some advice, Fufu.
I think Ratri kind of like leans over to you, Louella, and kind of whispers, is everyone going to be like this?
Just everybody hears and nods. The camera pans up quite a way to Scalger's face. He's also nodding. The camera pans back down. We're what you call a surrealist RPG, you see. We're quite meta-aware.
I'll turn towards my party. I'm sorry, I haven't the foggiest idea of what an RPG is. But anyway, yes, we come for knowledge, my friend. Knowledge and advice.
Well, these days, camera pans up, scratching his head. Camera pans down. Knowledge doesn't come quite cheap these days. People are trading all sorts of things for knowledge. Precious gems, rare swords, sometimes helping out with the local community, which I must say is for chumps. I'm usually all about the bling myself. Camera pans up. He has a necklace. Camera pans down.
Is it like considerably larger than my character?
Oh god, if this thing fell off his body, it would crush you.
I imagine there's just a little twinkle as the camera pans up, and then it pans back just a little like.
So I must say, do you happen to have any bling on you these days?
Well, the problem is that the information that we're after is connected to the bling Fufu.
Oh, I see. You must be talking about the lunar orb. To which the music absolutely stops. And we get something a bit more kind of like, how serious is the discussion of the lunar orb?
I wasn't, Fufu, and then I'm going to look around at the rest of the party. But perhaps we are now, Fufu.
Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the moments where like the background color changes or whatever.
I think it'd be really funny if the music gets like 10 times more serious, like
Okay.
completely like.
Yeah, it's a complete 180 pivot.
Fuck yeah! Hold on.
There's a quiet moment of Louella leaning down, going, "This is my gothic theme. Do not spoil it."
Oh yeah. Hold on. Now you said that.
Be quiet, Fufu.
All right, Louella, tell us about this lunar orb then, since this is your theme.
Oh well. So the lunar orbs are magical items which have fallen from the stars, rumored to be drops of blood from the first great mythic entity, which when it was slain was what created the very firmament that the universe itself was created from, as opposed to all the lesser ones that have come after.
In fact, we get like a picture of the lunar orb on screen, like pre-rendered, so it's a little bit pixely. It's a blood moon. Yes, yes, indeed. People have fought bloody wars over these things. They have all sorts of power if you are a conjurer inclined. They say that if you obtain a lunar orb, the number of summon points you have would go through the roof.
In the wrong hands, that could be terrible, Fufu.
Indeed, indeed. I did actually hear that there is maybe rumblings of villains in the town who are interested in searching for such an item.
Would any of them be wearing these, Fufu?
Holding up a...
I'm gonna hold up like the thing we took off the previous.
Oh, sure.
Left in
I think it's
arena.
like a badge. It's like a mobster's style like membership badge, like a Yakuza pin.
It's not like it's an ID card. Much.
And in fact, there is a loud creaking sound as Scaldress kind of like crouches down and then kind of gets real close to inspect you holding up this pin.
Does he have like the sort of flip down one of the glasses?
Oh yeah, no, he has like the kind of like artificer's glasses. So they're big and circular, but with a whole bunch of tiny, smaller ones that go click, 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 click in as he kind of like zooms in on this pin.
To a normal scale.
In my mind, is like their legs are so long, but like when they crouch down, their knees go like up past their ears.
Yeah,
like, up here. They're just like...
Oh my god, I love this character so much. I adore this character. He's my fan favorite. Yes. This seems to be... My voice is going, sorry. This seems to be a pin of the lunar aestheticians. Yes, that shadowy cabal of designers and artists that want to paint our fair country into a new era of style and, as I understand, darkness. Evil is the new black, as they say.
I was with you until the last bit, Fufu.
So, he says, like ejecting himself back up to normal height. You're out to go and stop those fellows, hey? Okay.
No one ever remembers the old styles. This is why I encourage people to shop vintage.
Yes. We haven't even made like a roll yet, and I haven't even put ourselves in a circumstance where a roll would be sensible to make, but we'll get there. He leans alongside one of these kind of like ribs and goes, well, I suppose if you go through the trouble of maybe dealing with one of the lunar aestheticians that is in the area, I might be able to do you a favor or two, give you knowledge or whatever. He seems like he could be convinced if somebody could kind of like persuade him.
We help save the world, and we get the knowledge we seek. I don't think this is a bad deal, Fufu.
Well then, why don't you go and convince me? He says, and I would like you to go and make a roll, please. So, as previously said, Ballad of Conjurers uses D8s, which I didn't have as a physical prop to hand because I'm very unorganized. But they're 8-sided dice. You've probably seen them before. When a character has 3 stats in this game, they have athletics, arcana, and acting, somewhere ranging between 0 and 3. To make a roll, we go and decide which one of these 3 stats that we're going to be using. Under this circumstance, if you're going to be convincing Scaldress, it feels like it's probably going to be an acting roll, unless you have a better suggestion.
I was mostly asking the rest of the party, because I am very, very bad at that.
This is fine. This is fine. The first roll going wrong is fine. We can just push the story forward.
Are the rest of the party just leaving Kniphofia on the spot and making them do it?
Yes, absolutely.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You're the one who started the dialogue option with the wrong character, so you're...
There's like a proper like menu of like, who do you use to convince Scaldrus? And as the cursor points to different ones of you, each of you emote differently, and points to Kniphofia, who's like, no, and you get selected anyway.
Whoever it was just menu too fast.
Misinput, yeah, absolutely. So how many points do you have in acting, Kniphofia?
So if I had 1 point, I'd be rolling 1 die, right?
Yes, that's right.
I don't have 1 point.
Okay, no problem. So I can do you a solid because he looks like he's willing to be convinced, and his bestie Moo, at least bestie for now. Who knows what happens if you cross him, I suppose. You know, I'm gonna give you, because it's in a favorable situation, I'm gonna give you a bonus die to your roll. So you'll be rolling 1d8. Yay! We take those.
It's an improvement.
It is an improvement, an infinite improvement mathematically. So why don't you do you have the macros handy? And in Roll20, I have like a dice macros for Ballad Roll and Ballad 0 dice. Oh, you got it. Okay, hold on. Excellent. Using your acting, and you rolled a 3. That didn't show up. Hold on. That didn't show up on screen. Why did that not show up on screen? Oh, it's because it's all the way at the top. That's why. Okay. Please, Roll20. So Roll20 recently changed its design, and before it used to do new dice rolls at the bottom and push upwards, and now it's in reverse. So my layout was wrong. Okay, we're fine now.
It's a fickle, tricksy beast, Roll20.
Good God. Success in Ballad of Conjurers is a little similar to Blades in the Dark, if there's anybody who's familiar with that. But instead of it being between 1 and 6, it's between 1 and 8. If you roll between 1 and 4, unfortunately, that counts as a failure. If you roll between 5 and 7, it's a mixed success. You get what you want, but your actions have made the situation maybe more dangerous or more complicated. If you roll an 8, it's a full success, and if you multiple dice are 8, it's a critical success. Currently, you rolled a 3, so that is currently a failure, but you can modify your chances should you want to. You know that fighting spirit that we mentioned earlier that everybody has 5 of? Well, you can spend a point of fighting spirit to raise the result of a die by 1, and you can do that multiple times. So you could, if you wanted to, spend 2 fighting spirit and get up to mixed success, but that's on you. You don't have to.
I think the Spriggan being rather annoying, and possibly the idea that fire and fire doesn't really work together well. Like that maybe that's a thing. Maybe the reason Scaldrus was even talking to another Fire Mooner when we didn't go into like boss fight was because Moo was there.
That's good. I like that. You start to argue, I think. No.
Oh, we should definitely do it this way for food.
No, I will not accept at least this much gold and diamonds. After all, I have other slots on this necklace to improve. It has enchantment slots, you see.
Why would you need fire? Surely something that burns would be better for food.
And this keeps going. And the camera, while they fight, the camera kind of moves over to the other party members, and like you gain control while this kind of argument is going on. What do y'all do?
This happens every time. Oh, you think they'd learn?
Foregone conclusion once we even entered the village.
Well,
Just leaves.
I suppose there's things to. We don't really have much of a better option, and I'll put in a good word with our friend here.
You interrupted the argument, and furthermore, oh, it's Moo. How's it going, baby?
Hi, I'm dreadfully, dreadfully sorry. Truly, your grace is only matched by your patience here. But I think it's safe to say that we will indeed accept this little task from yourself. We're more than happy to help people out, and whatever information you would be able to grace us with would be most appreciated. And
Well, I'll tell you what. I will tell you the next place that you need to go that will update your quest marker if you go and give me a plant fact. In the moment, you know so many plant facts. You know millions of plant facts, but now you've been put on the spot. What the fuck is a plant fact? Oh no. Why don't you go roll Arcana for me to see if you can recall a plant fact?
poor thing.
How many dice do you have in Arcana?
I have 3. That's a lie. I think I have 2. I have 2. Less impressive, but still impressive.
Still an improvement.
Yes. I'm going to pretend I know the macro.
Oh, sure. If you go to the macro tab, there should be 2 macros for Ballad Roll and Ballad 0 dice that you can put into your bar. Sorry, I didn't get the chance to explain that to you because you weren't in yet. Sorry. Also, at some point, if you can change your display name, but it's fine for now. A 7. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Do you want to... I guess this means I now have to keep scrolling the window in the stream so it will stay centered. Good God. Okay. Cool. Do you want to spend any fighting spirit?
I don't think I shall. I'm pretty good friends with this individual, so I think even if there's a slight complication, we'll be able to handle things.
No problem. You know a plant fact. It could be a made-up one because this is a fantasy world.
Did you know? I guess this is more of a warning than a fact. You should never give a dandelion any kind of secret. They're not very good at keeping them. They're terrible, terrible tattletales.
Oh, okay. Excellent. I like this. And it was, because it's a mixed success, we know this information now, but we cut back to a moment in the past. On a windswept night. Oh yes, we're gonna go for this one, I think. Louella, before you joined the party, there was a cutscene where you were kind of like out in these fields of like a flower bed in near your hometown. It's where you go when you are feeling so emotional, so goth, and you need to kind of get your feelings out into the world where nobody is around to hear you. And you say a secret. What is that secret?
Ooh, on the spot.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's sort of a scene of Louella with her back to the town and some great sword that's sort of iron board in size planted in the ground behind her, and the back sort of leant up against it, picking up this dandelion and wishing somewhat frivolously that somebody will come and take her away from this church and the village life, and the fact that she's fated to spend all the time here, and she won't ever get to see the world, and she'll like blow the dandelion away, and it looks like you see the seeds drifting over the sort of mound, and there'll be someone sat under the mound, out of camera shot, but out of her line of sight, but sorry, within camera shot. One of the other players, well, who would that like to be, or what would that have been?
I think I'll save that. I'll save for who that is for later, because that's a juicy thing you've given me. Thank you for this blessing. Yeah, you thought nobody heard you, but the dandelions did, and the ominous thing in the shadows definitely did. As that kind of like cutscene very swiftly ends, and we kind of get back to modern day, to present time, and Scaldris is like, "Oh yes, what a fascinating plant fact! I knew you were full of them, old chap." As they pat you on the back, and it just sounds like they're knocking on wood. Well, I do suppose I could tell you what's going on in town. I do know that there is going to be a very important sermon being held at the Church of Lost Souls. There is an organ stab as we look to the gigantic castle in the distance, regarding apparently issues going on in the local town spiritually. Not that I know anything about that. I'm a researcher and a scientist. Like, magic and science aren't the same thing in this setting at all. Of course they are. But yes, I'm not into all of that guff, but I do suppose that you might be finding what's going on if you go and attend that sermon.
I turn towards the party with just a smile on my face. Really, like, over-exaggerated. Just...
You gotta go. You gotta go. The town theme kicks in.
Shall we be on our way then, Fufu?
I guess so.
Anything you need to do in town, Ratri?
I think they like look around, like kind of like a bit curious, but then their eye catches the shop again, and they shake their head and say, I'm good for now.
Do you not need anything from the shop?
Oh, I meant not the shop. I meant like the place where we just had that conversation with what's his name.
With Scaldris. You're like, I don't need to talk to them. No, absolutely not.
It's kind of like, I've seen enough of this town for now. Let's go.
As you the road from through Ossuary by the sea to the cathedral castle is pretty winding and a pretty long distance. You could walk it, but it would take you quite a while to do it on foot. It feels like if you get into just so many random encounters on the road, and you're just like, no, I don't have time. We might need to do something that has maybe a little bit of fast travel, because I'm not going to be grinding through all those battles to get to our next destination.
We should probably hurry if you don't want to miss the sermon, Fufu.
I like the idea there's probably a cart sort of system that enables you to have fast travel, but we've not, it's like 120 gold and we've got 115 between us. We have to sit there navigating the awful menu system where you can't just upgrade your item. You've got to open and check your stats on it and then go back into the shop, sell that item, check you've added it up properly, buy it back again.
Okay, I love this. There is a fast travel system, it costs money, and you don't quite have enough. We're going to go around the table and we're going to do a quick scene each where we see each of you try and gain some money in Ossuary by the sea. Each one of them will involve making a roll, and then at the end of it, we'll see how well we do. Does that sound good? Nice. Okay, so who wants to kind of go first in kind of checking out what's in town? What do you do to try and earn money in town?
Ooh. Can Ratri busk?
Sounds good to me. I like that. That sounds good. Tell me your setup. Where you gonna place yourself? This town is like a generic high fantasy town that can have whatever the heck you want in it, to be honest. So,
yeah, I guess they are like posted up at like a fountain. It's not like the central plaza of this town. It's kind of like off to the side. I guess this fountain would have like decorations of like the water moon and like some like and they kind of just like stand in front of it, put their hat, because Ratri wears a hat now. I've just decided.
What type of hat is it? I need to know. It's important.
Oh, it's definitely a top hat.
Oh yeah, with the violin, sick. I love that.
Like they place their hat on the ground and they begin to play.
All right, go and roll me acting, I think, unless you can justify something else.
My acting and my arcana are the same, and my athletics is 0.
Yeah, so go and give me an acting, I think, since you're performing here.
Yes.
And I will say, because this is a situation that's favorable to you, you are using your signature weapon, so I will give you a bonus die. So you'll be rolling 1 extra, which I guess would be 3 for you.
Yes. A 6.
6. That is a mixed success, and I continue to slowly scroll up the Roll20 in the format. This is hell. Okay. So that's a mixed success.
Sorry, that was loud.
Oh no, you're good. You can either spend some fighting spirit to improve that, or are you happy with your mixed success?
I'm happy with that. I think I think the mixed success is in that it's very beautiful, but Ratri is also edgy, so it's kind of depressing. It's not quite it's very slow and it's very deep and it's very thoughtful and it's very pretty, but it's also not the vibe.
I like this. So we have a moment of, is there a way of me pausing this rather than specifically stopping it? It's fine, we'll do it. As you're playing, a shadow casts itself over you, and you kind of you look up to see this lady. She is very tall. She's like a 6'5". She's got boots that go kind of like a mid-high in the thigh, in like a silver, matching her silvery hair, and she has a very kind of cleanly done black military double-breasted coat that's all really tightly kept together. And she looks at you imperiously, and you slowly stop your violin playing, and she says, "That's not what I would call real music. That kind of taste is really out of fashion these days. But I suppose you're a good performer." And she flicks you 1 coin, and it lands in your kind of hat, your upturned hat, and she click clacks away on her pointy boots, and the music kicks back in. While she was speaking, it was just question marks where her name would be. She won't be important. Meanwhile,
Definitely not.
Meanwhile, who else wants to go next? What do you do? Who else wants to say what they do in town?
I'll step in. I think Moo is gonna head to the orchard that I've now decided is in this town, because I can.
No, you can.
And I imagine, I kind of wander over, and I'm probably I overhear a conversation of oh, the winds have been pretty bad and they've damaged some of the trees. There's not enough of a harvest to be able to comfortably trade with other places.
Goodness
And
me.
I'll kind of
How
just
will I be able to pick enough apples to go and sell at the apple fair? We do need to put our tithe to the grand church. Again, you hear like an organ stab as the camera looks at the church castle in the background. And if I don't have enough apples for the tithe, who knows what will befall my family? They can read your future, I've been told.
not enough apples, so please allow me. I'm gonna just wander my way through whatever group is currently here, and I will
go ahead and tend to the trees. Use some of my wood element to to heal them, essentially, to heal them and maybe kind of push out an extra little bit of harvest, perhaps.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So that feels like an Arcana roll, and because you're using your native element, I will say that will add you an additional die.
Wonderful. Ooh. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Alrighty. Let's go ahead
Ooh, a
and roll
7.
those.
That is almost a full success.
I'm gonna go ahead and spend. I wanna up that to a full success.
Okay, so tell me how you use your fighting spirit to push yourself just that little bit extra.
I think it's a little anticlimactic in a way. It's like when you get a level up and you check out, it's like, oh, this cool new spell, and it's just kind of like, it's okay. Yeah, it's like I step forwards and I'm kind of just like touching across some of the trees and just kind of make this little kind of almost like a personal bubble for myself and kind of begin to use my conjurer ability. And all of a sudden I just pause and I'm like, oh, I'm out of practice. Oh, I'm very out of practice. All right. I just kind of the like gnarled branches that kind of make up my face kind of like, concentrate down a little. It's like kind of like the creaking of wood as my face kind of moves, and then eventually there's kind of like a little extra pulse of energy that kind of finishes the job, so to speak.
Oh, goodness me. I forgot my accent for a second. I'm holding my non-existent cowboy hat as I'm speaking. Thank you very much for your generosity and magical abilities. I mean, we have to reward you for your time. And you get given 2 coin as that increases, and as you kind of like leave the scene, the farmer's like other NPC that was kind of like talking with the farmer was like, "Wasn't that a talking tree? Oh my god! What?" And then it just cuts to somebody else. So Louella or Kniphofia. What's going on?
I've got the idea that at this point the meta player in this particular game has got manual control of her, and she's currently wandering around. It's like, Louella, check the pot. It was dark inside. Walks into somebody's house, starts looking through the drawers for any abandoned gold. Unfortunately, then finds a treasure chest, and it's like 100 coins found. However, we're in post-Undertale times now, so we're going to have to be quite meta about this. And the NPCs react. They don't like you just walking into their house and just looting stuff out of their chest that they've got.
Yeah, as you kind of go in, this kind of like, welcome to our home. Is there something you need? Oh, where are you going? And eventually you kind of like go up to you're in like this NPC's like bedroom, and you've like opened this chest and you're rummaging around inside, kind of like rubbing your grubby little paws together, and they're like, oh my god, that's my life savings, and you're they're upset, and they're like, but stop, thief, and they go to get like a frying pan, and they're about to go at you. What do you do?
Well, express genuine confusion and say that apologise that it's very much different in the village where she was brought up. I was not expecting this sort of reaction, and be quite apologetic.
Are you going to make an acting roll to say sorry? I see.
Going to make an acting roll to apologise.
Okay, what's your acting stats? Because I don't think it's very high.
Is 1.
Okay, yeah.
Absolute confidence in my
so in a kind of like, do I? Because we gotta explore all facets of the thing. Are you okay if I'm mean to you?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay. because this is a circumstance where just saying sorry is probably not going to mean you're going to be leaving with some gold. I think this is a circumstance where you lose 1d8 because it is a dire circumstance. Also, because your physical well-being is on the line, you might take some damage if you fail the roll. So since you're rolling 0d8, instead you roll 2d8 and take the lowest. There is a macro for that available. Please. Okay. Cool. That is a 1.
Wonderful.
Yeah, there is just I think a battle scene starts hold on. Like an actual battle kicks in. We're gonna get this one. Where is it? We're gonna get this one.
Can I just say, the image I have right now in my head is like a raccoon dressed as Louella. Like the blindfold, the great swords, but it is just a raccoon.
Just digging through. Yeah. Proper gremlin mode. Yeah, a battle starts as you're kind of like, all right, I'll be able to do this. Describe an attack that you kind of do to kind of defend yourself against this person with a frying pan.
But I assume it's going to be one of these, sort of more of a mental hit as well, because this will be like level 1 villager, angry homeowner attacks. It'll be like runs over. It'll be at 1.
Yeah, they auto parry with the frying pan, and you use scan, and it says that this NPC is immune to melee attacks, has trained as a swordsman for the last 50 years.
So I think at this point it's look at the options, which are just fight. The runaway is greyed out because and we'll move to clicking the fight option for this particular one, which I'll describe depending on what I roll, I suspect.
Oh, no. This just resolves in what happens on the roll in the one. You don't need to make a roll for that. You're good. So you try and do that attack, and this NPC auto parries. You read that they're apparently an expert swordsman as they go in and do a limit break on you. It's called, what's it called? I think it's called Ready Steady Cook. As they go and basically slam you with the pan from the left hand side, slam you with the pan from the right hand side, toss you in the air and land you on the pan, sizzle you for a while, does a silly amount of damage, and then like Louella's sprite just kind of falls to the floor, KO'd. We then kind of like smash cut outside the building as your body is like tossed back onto the street, and they're like, and don't come back! As the door slams. You have not earned any coin.
That moment of standing up and a weird shaking head animation that looks very strange in pixel art.
Very much so, very much so.
I think you can hear Ratri playing that like really sad song like from like a distance just to like add insult to injury.
I think I will voluntarily lose myself a point of fighting spirit at that point as well.
I will deduct a point of fighting spirit as you've been thoroughly clobbered by this NPC. And Kniphofia, what do you do in town?
So well, I mean, sometimes people in the stories, like heroes go do great things, right? And they get rewarded with treasure for food. So I'm gonna look around. I'm going to find some people that need help, and I'm going to help them for food.
Okay.
And I'm going to help them and use my magic, because I know, like, healing magics. And I know how to burn out, like, the bad parts of things and leave the good stuff behind. And I'm going to go and help people for food.
Okay. We get a circumstance of, like, a pet stuck in a tree. There is, like, a kid being like, oh my god, my cat won't come down. I've been trying all day and I can't rescue her. Please, will somebody help?
Oh, don't worry, I'll help you for food. So the problem is that the cat is afraid to come down from the tree.
Oh yeah, it's not a huge tree. yeah, it would take some effort to climb it, and you're a bit of
I'm
a
gonna
short
burn
stack.
the huge out of the tree.
Okay. Yes.
It's now
yes,
a normal
yes.
sized tree.
You do have a talent of being able to burn anything, which I've kind of put summarized to conflagration because that sounded JRPG as hell. So I guess how are you going to burn this tree? Explain how you're burning the tree.
I'm gonna get my large paintbrush and I'm gonna sort of do a little dance around the tree, and there's like I'm gonna draw like the sigils in the ground around it, and there's like lots. So, and there's like the character for fire around it, and like drawings of what I want to happen. It all looks really like childish and quaint. And then Kniphofia kind of goes, and now, and then this.
Yeah, just a big column of flame shoots up around this tree. As the kid's like, "Oh my god!" Please go and make an Arcana roll with +1 because you are using your special talent. Oh, yeah, I was looking at the wrong screen. We're good. An 8! Full success. So yeah. You draw the sigil, you do the dance. There's like a little jingle that plays every time you cast this spell. You cast it a lot. Gigantic column of flame that definitely goes up off camera. Like the lighting in the shots changes as everybody is bathed in this like hellish orange red. And then suddenly it clears. What's the circumstance when it's cleared? What's left behind?
And there's just a small tree with the cat in it. Like the cat is now really big to be sat in this small sapling.
Yeah, the sapling kind of like wobbles and bends a little bit and snaps as the cat just kind of like lands. It's like meow, and the little kid goes like, "Oh my god, Fluffy, you're back!" and gives a big hug. There's like a big splash screen of like, "Save the kitten, complete side quest 1 of 500." Yeah, the little kid thanks you and gives you 2 coin.
Yeah, awesome.
To fast forward things a little bit because I think we're overdue a break. You all gather at the edge of town with the carts available, and there is a who's standing there. Anemos is this person's name. He looks like a old school like fighter pilot, like with the cap and the big scarf and the goggles, and it's blowing. The scarf is blowing in the breeze, even though there isn't really any obvious wind going. But
Hey, would you guys be interested in a wind cart?
the wind cart is in a different color, like the text.
Oh, a wind cart, Fufu?
Indeed. It will be able to travel you to distant locations very quickly. In fact, it can return to various locations you have visited on your adventure and the Castle Church.
Organ stab, the castle church in background, back to everybody.
Kniphofia looks at the rest of the party because I don't think Kniphofia really understands money.
The church, please. We would love to take your wind cart. Thank you very much.
Fantastic! You have the appropriate amount of coin.
Coin.
I guess Moo turns over some coins.
I think this
Kniphofia
is the
turns
first
over
time
some
Moo is
coins.
nervous. I think this is the first time. Like it's like flight. The idea of being in the air is terrifying.
For sure.
Kniphofia turns out like coins, pen lids, just random rocks that were pretty that he picked up. Just empties his pockets.
I have no use for these. I have no use for these. I have no use for these. Thank you for the coin.
And everybody like expectantly looks at Louella. You're muted.
With a sort of moment as sort of lowers her head down, just like 5 dots just appear in the speech box as it pops up.
No problem. You have the appropriate amount of coin.
hop aboard, and it looks like a regular kind of like the caravans in like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, like a proper Oregon Trail looking ass wagon. And as you get on it, there's no horse or anything to kind of pull the cart. And then there is like the sound of wind and like this spiraling, swirly, glowing ribbon of wind horse kind of manifests in it. And the wheels aren't actually wheels; they're actually just support struts for the wagon as they move away, and this thing is floating off the ground as then this wagon zooms off down the road towards the church castle. And with that, we're going to go into a 5-minute break, so everybody has the opportunity to stretch and hydrate, and we'll see you all on the other side. Be right back. Okay, thank you very much, OBS, for working with me and not doing the transition. We're here now. Hi, hello. Back. I hope everybody's had a good stretch. And we find ourselves on the open road. Yeah, this. Let's get some rolling drums in there. Although actually I noticed of late, I think YouTube claps you if you use near music and anything, so maybe we're being risky here, but it's fine. Yeah, the road between the settlement of Ossuary by the sea and the castle church has this kind of almost deserty area between. The sand is a bright blue. It's based on the body of the dead god that fell to make this land. And you can still see the kind of like sea off into the distance. But for some reason, this area isn't fertile at all. This is just sand with a kind of like winding rocky road that winds from the settlement up the hill up towards the cliff of this castle church. All of you are packed inside the wind wagon, and as you're being galloped across, the wind being blown by the spectral elemental horse that's pulling the carriage is almost making like waves of blue sand gushing off either side of your wagon as you speed along this desert area. How are all of you feeling while you're in the carriage? What you feeling? What you thinking? What you chatting to yourselves about? Between yourselves about?
We're going on an adventure.
Ratri is kind of like a little recklessly, kind of just like leaning out, just like letting the wind kind of like blow through their hair, just kind of like grinning, kind of like looking back at the party, kind of like grinning, just kind of like pointing out, being like, we're in the sky. Just like looking back, just like
you're maybe a meter off the ground, but hey, you floating.
Oh, totally. That's even better.
I've never been in one of these either, Fufu.
The little like flame leaves on top of Knifofia's head are just whipping around in the wind. Yeah.
Ratri's just like, we should do this more often.
We can right now. We've paid for the wind cat. We can do this more often, Fufu.
Should we?
Yeah, I like
Should
that.
we?
I like the idea that Louella's like sat there. It looks like she's quite calmly reading a book, or you can see her hand just gripped white against the sort of woodwork of the bench, sort of nails sort of dragging marks into it.
I'm
not trying
fine.
to bring any attention to it and looking like she's reading. Possibly the book may even be upside down.
I am like partially melded into the wagon at this point. I am just partially melded in. Just I'll occasionally look at Louella, just like a kind of
just a solidarity thing of like, we're in this together, and then look away again.
Yeah. There's a point where there's an approaching sand dune, and the wind horse like banks right to kind of go around it, and everybody in the carriage just suddenly is just jolted to the side as the thing kind of goes a good 30 degrees on tilt as it kind of like power slides around this thing.
I've got the full like little, when like the sprite like jumps in place and then just begins to kind of like vibrate in fear. That's Moo right now.
Yeah, for sure. And as you're riding in, the castle's getting closer. But you hear in the background a kind of whoop 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 as Ratri, actually, you kind of see, because you've been looking out of the window, that there are things, there seems to be something in the distance that's kind of closing in on you. It's quite difficult to see what it is because they're kicking up a lot of sand themselves, so they just look like big dust clouds of blue sand, but they're slowly approaching.
Weird sentence I'm going to speak with my human mouth. Can I do some echolocation thing?
Ooh.
To like try and like get a reading, kind of like almost as if like there's the scan ability, and then like Ratri has something that like just increases the range of scan.
I like that. Like you get your violin out and you kind of like pizzicato pluck one of the strings, and it kind of does this kind of echolocation like whoop, thing out. I want you to go and make a Arcana roll for this, but I think this is a very difficult thing to do, so you're going to do it with one fewer die.
That makes sense. Also, they're moving very fast, so I have 2 Arcana, so this is 1. It's a 2.
Okay. Fail, I see. You try and do that pizzicato pluck for the echolocation. Do you say anything when you do it? Or like, what's your animation when you use this ability?
I think it's like the arm. Hang on, I'll get in frame. I'm in frame. So like the arm kind of like flicks up with the like violin in it, and the head like kind of just snaps up. Kind of like that.
Yeah. And you close your eyes. In fact, there's like a moment of peace as you listen in carefully to the world around you. All is calm. You're listening. You don't really hear anything. You open your eyes. There are these kind of like goblins riding air bikes alongside now, because in that period of time that you had your eyes closed, these things caught up with you. They appear to be kind of like very rocky looking goblins, riding what would be like a Harley Davidson, but instead of like wheels, it's kind of like big wind, like orbs that it's being like it's kind of riding on. And one of them like reaches into themselves, takes out a chunk of black rock and throws it at your wagon, and it sparks and crackles like a firecracker had just been gone off on impact. And these things are trying to attack you.
Oh, they were just trying to give us like a cool celebration that we got the wind cap for food.
I love that sad foo-foo.
So there are 3 goblins on motorbikes that are throwing explosives at you. How does combat work in this game, I wonder, you ask? Well, there is no real thing in terms of like initiative or anything like that, but all foes in Ballad of Conjurers have a style of attack, which is a narrative description of how the foe behaves. Hit points are usually 1, 2, or 3, and a weakness, something that makes the foe vulnerable to attack. So to damage a foe, a conjurer must make a successful roll to create an opening, and then another conjurer can make a successful roll to attack the foe while there's an opening to deal damage. I will say that these biker goblins all have 1 HP each, but there are 3 of them. So yeah, anybody can kind of leap in, and then once you leap in, we'll kind of do a round robin kind of thing. So you got to go create an opening, and then somebody's got to capitalize on that opening to deal damage. How to create that opening? Well, we're just going to have to experiment and find out.
So, we don't have control of the cart.
I think there are probably like some reins that you can use to
Yeah.
pull the cart. Sure. It seems that the wind horse knows where it's going and is kind of doing a linear path, but you can steer it if you wanted to, no problem.
I'm gonna sort of like, Kniphofia is gonna take out their giant paintbrush, and with some difficulty because of the wind, they're gonna take out their prayer strips and start drawing a load of little sigils on them. Like loads and loads of little ones.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't you go and make... This feels like a dexterity task, because you're doing a difficult thing while you're moving, and it's pretty small. So I think I want an athletics roll from you, please.
Ooh. So I misspoke earlier. It's not acting that I have 0 in. It's I thought it was the other way around.
Right, it's fine. No big. In that case, I will do you a solid, and I will give you 1 for free on this time round.
Yeah, it is using my weapon and. Like,
yeah, you are using your signature weapon, so I'll give you the additional die.
I'm gonna, as I do this, I'll be like, swerve in front of them, for foo.
Mm-hmm. Let's see how you roll. Ooh, a 2. Let's see here. You do it. But one of the in trying to dodge these attacks, the cart goes over a sand dune and there's a dudunk, and your line like splatters, and you don't finish a spell circle correctly on one of them, and it goes off.
So what they were going to do is burn off the goblin's speed.
Oh sure.
But they'll burn off our speed instead.
I like that. I like that too. So basically, one of these explodes in a ball of flame because you completed a sigil correctly, and it starts to slow down, and the other bikers, one of them starts to pull in front and does a 180 and is driving backwards while they're preparing to throw another glob of black rock at you. Kniphofia, please take 1 point of fighting spirit damage.
Just from feeling bad.
Yeah, no, this sucks. It counts as emotional damage as well as physical. We wonder if you might survive. A hero doesn't make mistakes like this, Kniphofia. Yeah, this goblin is about to go throw a big rock. Who wants to do something about it?
I'll step in, sure. You said they were on like bike kind of things, right? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of unmeld myself a bit. Grab my I don't know where I store it, just in my shoulder somewhere. Pull out my my flail branch. And kind of just begin to spin it a little bit and just, all right, well, let's see if this makes a difference. And I want to aim for one of the wheels.
I want the housings of the wind orb that's keeping it here.
I want to see if I can make it either preferably stall forwards to make an attack for one of my allies easier.
Sounds good. That's an athletics roll, I think, because you're using some physical dexterity.
All right.
You're using your flail. I'm happy to give you an extra die for that.
Awesome, because I've only got 1, so we'll try our best.
It's using your weapon in a creative way. We love it. Is that a crit, my friend? Ooh.
Let's go!
Yeah. So I think you get to create an opening for 2 of these 3 goblins. under this circumstance. So tell me how you do it.
I imagine I'm kind of like, I'm swinging it round. I'm looking towards both of those, but like two of these, and I'm looking at the amount of kind of like flail lines I have, and I'm just like, well, never too young to try something new. And I, like, with one hand, spin it, use my other hand to kind of cut them, like, the kind of like tendrils down the middle and make them split off in two directions. I think there's like 3 on each side that kind of like wrap around and stall both of them, so they just...
Yeah.
Cool.
So the goblins themselves, you find out as you manage to go and deal a point, like attack them, that the goblins themselves appear to be fire elemental, fire earth elemental. But the bikes, being wind elemental, are apparently critically weak to wood damage, and you get like a critical kind of like pop-up effect as you attack. You just choose the target reticle just down by 1 and target the bike instead, and make them crash into each other. The 2 bikes crash and kind of fall apart. The goblins go in the air. One of them pulls out a wrench, undoes the front like wind orb on one of the bikes, and both of them are now riding atop that wind orb, trying desperately to kind of stay alongside the wagon, and they're teetering. They're teetering left and right as one of them on the back is trying to throw more rocks of itself that are sparking and crackling upon hit. It seems like these ones are open to take some damage.
Happy to volunteer for this one unless Ratri wants them.
Go for it.
So, presumably behind the cart as things are going on, getting more and more sort of focusing on the book as there's more bangs and crashes, and finally, like the book falling from her hand, I just sort of look up to the camera, zoom out to where these goblins flying out, and just the top of the cart just bursts open as she leaps up bodily into the air in a dramatic moment as the veil sort of parts, and you just sort of blindfold lifts, and you just see her eyes looking at the goblins, the sort of weird new sort of grey colour, before beginning to intercept them with her which great sword should we go with? The larger of the two, inevitability, sort of swung partially by her own weird strength and magics.
All right, that feels like an athletics roll to me. I think it's a straightforward attack. You're not doing anything too wacky with your weapons, so you're just going to do the flat athletics roll.
Okay.
That's an 8. Yeah. Tell me how you defeat 2 of these coal goblins.
Okay. So it'll cut to her, and she'll look at the eyes lock on these 2 goblins. She'll just decree cause of death, massive impact damage, swing the side of the greatsword into the bike, like almost acting like a giant bat, slams it into the floor, and there's like an explosion as these 2 enemies presumably pixelate off. And
in fact, you learn an interesting thing. As you slam the the remaining mechanics of this bike that they were balancing, teetering upon, or the spark from the impact of metal on metal hits one of the coal goblins, and they go like, oh my god, as they're patting their chest, and then they explode. Which then causes the other coal goblin, because it's in a square range distance of this goblin, to also explode.
Presumably the blast of the impact and flips and lands back on the top of the cart, and smoke and bits trailing down. She obviously doesn't look at it because, cinematics.
The last goblin looks shook, but they're still trying to chase. They've decided to switch tack, and attacking you guys directly is clearly a bad plan. But if they flip the cart, then maybe they'll be able to do something. And they start hurling more firecracker rocks at the wind horse to try and disrupt it, and it's sort of working. The steering is becoming really erratic, and you're weaving left and right.
Ratri will look at the goblin and kind of whisper whisper before playing, says, what's something cool that I can say? Oh, yes. The earth moon and the fire moon will be eclipsed, and you shall shatter. And they kind of like play a note, and we see a wave of like sound kind of like strike towards the goblin, trying to weaken them to create an opening.
Sounds good. Give me an Arcana roll for that, please.
Can I invoke my talent of astrology?
Ooh, I see. Interesting. I think if you do something to, like, I was gonna swear, if you do something to mess with the elemental alignment of the goblin as part of this attack, I think that will be, because I think because the astrology thing is all about interacting with these moons and these elemental moons, you might be able to cause a moon to wax or wane and therefore change power or something like that. I like that's maybe how you invoke that ability.
Oh, I think so I guess like for like flavor wise, this wouldn't be like spending a summon point to like summon darkness, but I guess like maybe the wave of sound kind of like is slightly opaque, and so as it kind of like passes over them, it blocks like the moons like in the sky for like just long enough.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, go and give me. No, you're right. Go and give me an Arcana roll +1, because you're using your special talent to do something cool. Ooh, 5. That's a mixed success.
Oh no, I'm not going to spend fighting spirit on this goblin.
So you don't create an opening, but you do change what element it is.
Ooh.
Hang on. Let's go roll 1d8. Not that that's a rule in this game, it's just a thing that I've decided would be fun to have. 3. The goblin is now air. Okay, yeah. So you block off its access to the moon with that strike, and it starts absorbing the wind from the bike that it's riding. Maybe it's because I've been opening a bunch of Neon Kamigawa packs, and it's all turning creatures into vehicles and things like that. This goblin starts melding into the bike and becomes this like steampunky wind mech thing that is now sprinting. I'm thinking of like in like if you've ever played like a Guardian Heroes or like Vector Man, where it's lots of individual sprites that are then, rather than it being a fully animated sprites, individual sprites that they've just put in the shape of a man, and those sprites are just wiggling to make it look like it's sprinting alongside the wagon. So we now have a wind element goblin that is trying to get at you instead. I think because you mentioned the thing about summoning an elemental, the screen dims a little bit. And Scaldress, because they're so tall, they appear like upside down out of the sky, being like, "Hey, do you guys know how to summon elementals? Do you need a tutorial?" Yes, no. Elementals can be useful in all sorts of situations, including social puzzle solving and battles.
Skip.
Very well, you best go solve the puzzle or I'm going to have beef with Moo. And then he just pulls back out of the panel again.
Ooh, they are long.
So long. Yeah, who wants to go? I think everybody's had a turn, so turn order for whatever that means resets. It's anybody's game. Well, we do know an element that is advantageous against air right now.
I was gonna say, I'm like, well, it's air, so I guess that I may as well step in and try and create something. I'll go ahead and I'll swing this around my head again, and there's like a tiny little like collection of like yellowish particles. A little box comes up with like Moo used pollen storm, and I'm just gonna essentially create this small kind of like cloud in order to mess with its vision and hopefully create an opening to make it vulnerable that way.
This feels like a magic effect, so why don't you go roll Arcana for me, friend?
All right, I can do that.
Ooh, it's a 7. Do you want to
Take
push
it.
yourself? You'll take it. Absolutely.
Nah, I don't know what's coming, so I'll take it.
Fair. Yes. So describe this pollen storm. It blinds them. They're like, they're flailing around, trying. The wind is just getting it more into them, and it's clogging up the exhaust pipes that are part of their like backpack now, and it's causing a huge mess. They're starting to flag behind a little bit.
I think I might set up something to also assist then, if whoever's going to deal the finishing blow.
I will say, because this is a mixed success, this opening might be temporary. This might be your chance to go deal the damage, or before it reasserts itself.
I was going to offer to bring a summon into play for this, because it's, given we've just had the tutorial and it seems appropriate.
You'll have an opportunity to summon later. You're good.
Okay, I'll hold off on. I'll let someone else. I've killed something today, so
I'm happy to leave it, but I can probably work something out.
We gotta share the XP between the characters.
Fair enough.
You gotta, you know.
level 1.
Ratri, do you want to take another shot at it and finish this off?
Sure. Am I trying to create an opening, or
The opening has been made. This is now to deal the damage.
Okay. Sure. I guess Ratri will. What would be a good finishing move? I guess Ratri will like play. We'll just kind of like play again, but kind of like as they bring the bow like down, like the bow becomes like charged with like magical energy, and they just kind of like flick out, and kind of like, do you know the like magic greatsword spell from like Dark Souls? Where basically like the mage will like do a spell, and then this giant blue like greatsword will just come out, and they swing in an arc.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
that kind of thing happens with like sound and music as like Ratri kind of like flicks out. Arcana?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Will you finish it off? 6, it's a mixed success, that'll do it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Might make things a little worse for you on the other side of it, but you do hit it. And it's kind of, as it's kind of manages to get the last bit of pollen out of its eyes, and it's like, now's my time, and it is completely bisected in half by this kind of like wave of musical energy as I think we get a moment of it kind of like looking behind itself, and it sees its legs running considerably further in the distance as the body has flown further ahead. It's like, oh, I see. Rolling in the blue sand goes everywhere. However, the like kickback of this magic spell, I think, is enough to kind of send the cart off course, because you're floating in the air. So if you're kind of pushing a large amount of air out one way, you're then being pushed the other way too. And anybody who's looking out of the front of the wagon, I think it would say Kniphofia, will see that there is one of the fingers that enshrines the kind of like entrance to the castleway is coming up real fast. Oh gosh, we're definitely gonna hit that. And before long, bam, you fling headlong into it, and we kind of there is a fade to black, and we kind of reconvene outside the at the base of the church castle. We get an animation of all of you kind of like dusting yourself off, removing sand. Ratri kind of like takes off their top hat, and a whole bunch of sand just pours out of it. As you are
Take it out of the flower buds. A comically large plaster on as well.
Yeah, you're a little dinged up. There's another like wind wagon salesman here in a very Nurse Joy situation. It's a different person, but it looks exactly the same as the one that you bought one for. Ah, it seems you arrived here on one of my brother's wagons. Oh, you've totaled it, I see. Well, we'll be sending you a bill in the mail. You wonder when that toll will come back to you later. But for now, you've arrived at your destination. It looks surprisingly pleasant in this kind of like, in the kind of, I guess, like front gardens of this. You know, it has the minarets and towers of a castle, but it has the big stained glass windows of a major cathedral. And there's various people kind of milling about, getting ready for this sermon, as well as there's kind of like the pleasant and slightly ominous tolling of bells in the bell tower of the things people are getting ready.
Uncharacteristically, Kniphofia hasn't run off yet.
Somebody with a kind of like a habit similar to the one that Louella wears kind of moves past, and whether they're kind of like the sermon will be starting soon. Please make sure that you look presentable, sister, for the sermon. We have a special guest speaker today, apparently, for the magical matters at hand.
I'll nod and ask, what's the name of the speaker? Is it someone I'd be familiar with?
The speaker is one Lady Nazelle. She has traveled, apparently, from a distant location after hearing of the potential calamitous event that we did not foresee previously, which gives us particular concern of a calamitous event that we did not particularly predict in advance.
Sometimes the threads of fate can be twisted. Hard to read.
Very well. As I say, make sure to get this nun picks a couple grains of sand off you and kind of wipes it down. Please I must stress, please make sure that you are presentable for the event, otherwise you will bring shame upon the cathedral.
Yes, sister.
The nun bows their head and makes their way inside the church castle. We don't need to pan up to the church castle anymore because we're there.
Ratri.
The camera pans up anyway. Sorry.
No, it's cool. Ratri will turn to Louella and just be like, are you okay?
Absolutely fine, friend Ratri. Just, it's been a while since I've set foot inside the cathedral.
Okay. Well, if you need us to back you up.
Let's see.
Kniphofia looks at his paintbrush. I might be able to get rid of the... Never mind.
You all walk towards the cathedral, the main area, and step inside. and it's huge in here. Louella, the branch of the church that you are previously familiar with, that was the grandest building that you had ever seen. But this makes that infinitesimally small compared. This is it's all clad in gold and silver, various statues, marbled columns, a gigantic kind of stained glass piece at the back with depicting what is currently understood to be the physical manifestation of fate. Everybody give me one detail of what fate looks like.
Fate has 8 eyes.
One for each moon, for sure. A very like Be Not Afraid style angel vibe, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing that as well. I don't think Fate is humanoid, but the picture looks like it's from a distance. It looks like it's like symmetrical on various axes, but as you get closer, it's not actually quite.
I guess the fire and earth conjurers that worked together to heat and forge the sand to turn into glass that made this. The practice of doing so is that you don't cut the glass to shape after you make the sheet. You make the shape of the glass exactly the shape it needs to be to fit in the works. So these are painstakingly made to fit precisely where they are supposed to be. And that requires an astounding amount of math to be able to get it to fit, not in a symmetrical angle, just slightly off, and still get it to tessellate. Oof. Ray, a detail from you?
I think to bounce off of Rook's description here, the way that I'm seeing it in my head, Fate has 8 wings, one created of each element, and the eyes are embedded into each wing. And the wings themselves are actually just created from the element. Like there's no like bone or feather structure. It is quite literally just a wing of fire, a wing of darkness.
Wing of Darkness, the name of my new like goth metal EP, now available on Bandcamp. Tom, what is another detail about Fate?
I think I almost like the idea of the hands being apparent with some horrifically complicated looking cat's cradle sort of thing between her hands, but a small sphere in the centre of it that's supposed to be representative of the world itself.
Bigger than any known previous god. Enshrining the star, each moon is actually one of, at least as modern myth will tell you, each moon is just the part of a wing that we can perceive. You know, if we truly tried to understand one of the wings of Fate, we would lose all sense and turn to dust. So it only appears to us as a moon, and it's very concerning that we have not seen the 8th wing for a very, very long time. There is a queue of people from the ossuary by the sea, the settlement outside the church castle, who are giving various offerings to the church for good tidings, for positive fate readings. Louella, you know that's not how that works. You can't offer items to improve your fate.
Well, how crowded is this church at the moment?
It's pretty busy. I think the queue of people is kind of off to the side, is like they're almost like a non-interactive thing of scenery. There is maybe some NPCs at the front that are interacted with, but it kind of runs down the entire side of this map where we entered into this room and the map loaded. So the entire side of the room is dedicated for this slowly winding queue of people giving up offerings. You would think that most of the town of Ossuary by the Sea is here.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Maybe two. So is the entire cathedral like very brightly lit, or are there some like deep dramatic shadows?
I mean, looking at our tones of gothic and surreal, I think we get some big shadows, and those shadows are specifically kind of casting interesting shapes on the kind of walls and floor and ceiling and making the place look uncanny and twisted by how dramatic the lighting is in here. How
long would it take me to entreat those shadows?
I think the time it takes is almost in a separate plane to the time in the real world. We kind of zoom into Ratri vision for the communing, if you would like to do such a thing.
Okay. Like, I don't think this is like very long or complicated. I think like their hand just kind of like almost brushes the shadow, and then like in this other plane, we kind of just see them like with their hand outstretched, and there is like a reflection made of... No, the shadow creature we see is the hero that was meant to kill them, and like their hand is outstretched and the shadow hero takes it, and then we're back.
As the shadow hero kind of touches your hand, you hear echoing in you.
Fate is a very difficult thing to change. For every string you cut, 2 more are added to your body. The puppeteer of fate does control us all. You'll find out that eventually.
Did you say anything in reply?
I think their like violin is like their like plural violin is kind of like floating between them, and they say, yes, strings indeed.
And then we're back in the room.
That was all. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Please increase your summon points by 1. I think the same nun from before kind of goes up to Louella and as said like nudges you and is like, the demonstration of the fates is going to be imminent. Are you prepared?
Louella will look towards the nun and this is not correct, sister. The faithful and the taking of donations, this... I'm trying so hard not to say this is not our way, but it's bloody...
Just lean into it. Just let the tropes flow through you.
This is not our way. Fate cannot be bought or bartered with.
Fate cannot be bought or bartered with, but if we leave the people to just take the fact that their destiny is already set, they would tear themselves apart with the anxiety of the metal swords like the ones you carry that are about to fall upon their wretched lives. This makes them feel better.
Does it help, though? Fufu.
The nun looks at you and says, see for yourself, and gestures to the back as there is a family. They have fished up a cohort of various fish from the sparkling iridescent ocean and have placed that salted, cured, and filleted upon a donation altar. And once that has been accepted by the nuns, they smile, they cheer, they hug, They know, at least they think they know, that good fortune will stay with them for yet another year as they kind of exit the cathedral.
Everyone just looks confused.
You're selling people on a lie.
The nun looks at Mu and then says, "Such words are heresy." And she turns and makes her way up to the altar and announces, I think. Oh no! We need a proper kind of like pastor character for this, don't we? We need somebody who can hit that energy. Their name is Umbrus because of course they are also a Darkness Moon character, very important. What does Umbrus look like? We'll do this one quite quick. We'll do this one a little quicker because we're gonna have another cool action scene before we wrap up today.
Long black hair just past the shoulders, entirely in front, only revealing one eye.
Oh,
And it's like a scar down that eye as well.
Yeah. Sick. Love that. Give me one more detail and then we'll proceed. Somebody.
I'm thinking that they've got like it's almost like a lattice, like those mayoral chains, and it's in silver and like jet and things like that. It goes like quite low and long. It like flows almost all the way down their body.
Yeah, I think the character design hits a bit of Nomura, and we see that actually he's not wearing too much underneath this lattice, just kind of like bare, surprisingly, alarmingly well-toned muscle, svelte but built, peeping through the holes within the lattice. You wonder who will cosplay this in some 10 years when it becomes realized as a kind of cult classic later down the line. Lost sheep of Ossuary by the sea, thank you for once again attending our sermon. It is a very auspicious occasion because we have brought to our ranks a conjurer who has offered to give us prophecies that we ourselves have not foreseen. Please do introduce to us, Lizelle, your prophecy. And he kind of stands to the side. He smiles. You can catch just the hint of a smile in the kind of like gap in the hair. Very wide, very toothy, as we get maybe this. It is the lady that we saw who talked to Ratri by the fountain. Of course, everybody's nodding. We know that they would have to come back. Yeah. We hear the click-clack of the big, like, thigh-high boots before we see her kind of march onto almost military-like as she kind of stands upon in front of the podium and addresses the crowd. Welcome, everybody. I come today to give a message of ill portent. Thank you so much for the donations that you have made to your illustrious church, cathedral, castle. I've forgotten the name of this building. It is unimportant. She flips her hair. But I must tell you that it is all a lie. This does not control your fate. The priest, the head priest Umbrus is like losing his gourd right now, and this is clearly not in the game plan. You have been lied to. You can sacrifice anything, everything. You can pray to conjurers. You can pray to the dead gods you walk upon. But actually, who you should be praying to is me. And the rest of my organization, the Lunar Aestheticians for Mercy. For If you do not prostrate yourselves before us, you will be swept aside in the new aesthetic. Blue is no longer a color that we desire, and as such, this part of the world has been set to be removed.
I'm going to sort of look to the others and see if they're going to jump in. Because I think Kniphofia is having a bit of a crisis of confidence.
Moo is resisting the urge to do like a full JRPG speech at this point.
I mean, okay,
If you don't,
well.
I will.
Well, do bear in mind that one of the ways that you can recover fighting spirit is to resolve a scene that hits some of those session tones, and a rousing speech can absolutely be one of them. So if you think you're ready to go and give a speech that will give everybody some fighting spirit back, we can do that if you wanna.
Stuff it. Let's do it.
All right, what tone are we going for this speech here? Let me cue up some tunes.
I think Moo's gonna kind of play on hope. Kind of go for that little bit of a heroic kind
Let's
of like,
get some hope.
let's do this beat.
Let's get. Oh, let's bring in some guitars. Let's get energy in there.
Oh, perfect. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. No. This is the vibe. All right. Cool. Yeah. So, Moo's kind of looking at everything going on and looking at, just taking a quick look at the party, just shaking their old creaking head and just it always surprises me how quickly you forget your history, but luckily you have someone to remind you. You have tried this many times over your history, and nothing changes. Doesn't matter who you pray to, who you give your tribute to, nothing changes. Because you are wasting your own time. Your time to laugh, your time to love, your time to make changes, your time to rally yourselves and change the world for the better. You can't listen to someone like this, so absorbed in their own self-interest, their self-image. No. You need to live for yourselves. That is the mistake that your ancestors made, spending their entire lives playing into someone else's hands. Take grasp of that for yourselves and live your own lives, free of fear, free of burden, and love yourselves, love each other. Take heart, take that confidence, and do away with these posers, attention seekers, and rabble rousers.
That with the backing music is sick as hell. Hell yeah. Yeah, all of you recover one fighting spirit as you are roused by this heartening speech to go and fight against this kind of specific fate-twisting obstruction in community peace and harmony.
Kniphofia is like, as I'm listening to Mew give the speech, Kniphofia's like petals are starting to stand like properly again, like, as they remember why they fight.
You're a hero, you know that. You lost heart before, but you know that you can change fate. Maybe, kinda. How does that work again?
I don't think Kniphofia really knows, and I don't think Kniphofia actually cares anymore.
Yeah, a lady stamps her foot, kicks down like the podium altar, the thing they stand behind to give the speech in the church, that thing. Just kicks it down with one boot and it clatters to the floor, and she points at Moo and is like, you are the old way, you will be removed and replaced by something beautiful in the new era. As she like gestures inside her coat and pulls out a conductor baton, and there is a flash like freeze, and it says Nazelle Coda, aesthetician of music, as she she said, you may have defeated my compatriot and lover. Oh no, I've forgotten their name. Where did it go? What's the name?
There's Ina.
Yeah, you may have defeated my compatriot and lover, Des Ina, but you will not defeat me.
Let's go!
For I have the biggest performance being performed that will be conducted of them all, an orchestra of souls. And we kind of like cut to like a wide shot. We get like the world map shot of Ossuary on sea. Let's get some danger music, cause like oof. And we see like there's a rumbling, of course, as do I even have ominous handy? Do I actually have that? I guess I don't. It's fine. Oh, this'll do. Do I? Please, this'll do. Improvising with the soundtrack. We see the world map and the town of Ossuary by the sea, and it starts glowing blue, as established that the ribs sometimes glowed blue at night, and we see like almost a shape start appearing in the lines of the earth, a head, an arm, and in fact the arm is connected to the fingers that are rising out nearby to the cathedral church by the castle. It seems that they are trying to summon the ghost of a dead god to attack this area. And you can just kind of like see that from like one of the church windows, like the fingers kind of glow blue, and almost kind of see sinew and skin start to form around these kind of like shapes of rock. I will summon the gods of old, and we will form something new.
I thought you were about to say Voltron. Ignore me.
What's a Voltron, Fufu?
And I will form the head. She just leaps up, grows several. No. But now is maybe a time, if you want to go summon an elemental, you should probably do it now.
Ratri will just kind of shout, "Get your own gimmick. This one's mine." Would anyone like to summon an elemental, like, in tandem with me and combine our forces?
I can. I think I would like to. With what I've learned about my fellow conjurer is I've learned that heroism lives in the unlikeliest of places, and that's both of us.
Ratri, what have you learned about Kniphofia through your travels?
I've learned that Kniphofia is unstoppable, and even though his methods seem questionable at best, they always work out in the end. I think there's like a flash of like you kicking down my door in our past, and like a montage of like us bonding as friends throughout our journey as we summon.
Yeah. What does the summoning animation look like as you combine your two elements to summon an elemental? Oh, you muted yourself.
And I remuted myself because Ratri is gonna take the lead on this one.
Okay.
What do you think about what if you're painting musical notes and your paint becomes our summon?
Oh, that's really cool. Is the song you're singing actually quite a happy one for once?
Yes.
Oh. So yeah, we have power, like, you know, the instead of like a whoosh of like one color of flame, it's like 1,000 different colors. Because we're working together and forms up into some. And what sort of look are we thinking? We're thinking something quite stylish.
Ooh, yeah, like maybe like the base of its body is kind of like dark, almost as obsidian, and then it has like kind of like flame like decals and like decorations, like the details are all like fire.
So it's like kind of like humanoidish form to it, huh?
Like flowing patterns and things like that across it.
Yes.
Inscribed in fire. Oh, that's really cool.
Nice,
is it carrying a weapon or something, or are we looking at like more of a defensive summon, or even a healing one?
We have options.
Maybe just kind of like a humanoid, empty hands, and like kind of like versatile as we need it.
Pick things up in the environment and use them. Who knows? Okay, so how many summon points? It's funny because we're doing the advanced technique of summoning before we've done the regular one yet, and that's fine. That's allowed. Let me go.
This is how we roll, right?
That's how we roll. Let me read some box text for context, because this is one of the key signature mechanics of this tabletop RPG. A conjurer is able to entreat their signature element to their aid. Once per scene, if a conjurer's element is present, they can commune it. We've done that. When a conjurer is the narrative focus, they can spend any number of summon points to conjure an elemental. The more summon points spent, the grander and more powerful the elemental is. And there are certain special abilities that you get if you make elementals of certain sizes, 1, 2, and 3, and 3 or more. So how many summon points are both of you spending on this thing?
Both of mine.
Okay, it's at least 2.
I was planning to spend all of mine as well.
Okay, it's a 5-point summon. This thing is big. It is big.
If it's gonna have to try and wrestle a dead god, it's gonna have to be.
I like that. This is cool because we'll find a fun way to incorporate that and let also other players kind of get on the ground, do some bits and pieces. So what do we name this fusion elemental?
So maybe some sort of like name it after a type of song. Or it's like musical terminology.
Okay. This is a weird. Everything I've said today has been weird.
It's been great. Don't worry about
it. Give me your catchphrase one more time. So, funk.
Yeah.
We have summoned a funk elemental. This is amazing.
Yeah, I don't have any funk in my soundtrack listing for this. I'm so sorry. Yeah. This it kind of starts to summon in the cathedral, and it's pushing away space, and then eventually it like broops out in a wave of darkness and flame, and everybody's like, where did it go? And then you see outside in the distance, it starts to keep growing and growing and growing. And as one of the fingers of the hand starts to try and pull its way out of the earth, the Fufunk appears to slam the hand back down. This thing is huge. It's not as big as a dead god, but it's trying to do its best to keep the summon from being planted. So while you don't have to worry about that anymore, you do have to worry about the Aethystician, who is now stepping off the podium and is coming at the 4 of you. Nazel is ready to battle. Let's get this for now. Okay. Who would like to go first to do a thing? You can maybe summon an elemental first if you want to kind of summon one up front if you want to. You have options.
I'm gonna conjure.
Mm.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm a big tree.
Mhm.
Can I manifest my own summon around myself?
Of course you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at my party and realize that, hey, attacking, they probably have down. So I'm gonna be the buff bot of the group, and I am going to turn myself into a miniature Yggdrasil. I'm gonna root myself in place and summon this large tree, summon around me, and use. Essentially, the plan is to use my roots and my branches to defend against attacks rather than attacking myself.
Excellent.
That is my thoughts.
So, for regular summons, when you summon a 2 SP elemental, assuming you're using both of your summon points.
I shall.
Sure. 2 SP elementals are protective forces by nature and can protect a person or object from harm by itself using 1 SP instead of a conjurer making a roll. So you can, with Yggdrasil, automatically block any kind of harm that might come to one of your allies twice. Also, because this summon is now available, others, with your permission, can use it to augment their own rolls. If you use an elemental in a roll, it will automatically add 7 to that roll on top of anything else you get. Plus, with a point of fighting spirit, could push that to an 8. It's way easier to succeed and get criticals when you use your summons, but you only have them for a limited period of time. In response, the Nazelle lifts her conductor baton, points it at like a pew, and like a bubble of, I think, light. She's a light conjurer. Kind of appears around it, and it starts to float in the air, as well as like various kind of like books and cushions and things like that. And then you realize that the gravity is different inside that bubble. He wants to do something.
I have an idea, but it's to help out Louella.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go on, Dave.
So I hope he's going to rush forward and start drawing like a sort of sigil around her, and what I want to do is I want.
Oh, you've muted yourself.
So anything this, I was trying to gesture and then I took my hand off and pushed the top. Yes, I'm gonna try burn away anything that's making her tired, anything that's holding her back, anything that's stopping her, and burn away all those chains and so she can go full force.
Okay, give me an Arcana roll, please. I enjoyed that there are people in the chat going ham about me using Cinewalis music in the soundtrack for this. It is just a mixed success. You got there.
Yes.
Let's see. Louella, you start to burn up. Like, you feel your muscles kind of like heat up and loosen, and you feel are you wearing any kind of like plate alongside your nun's habit, or is it?
I suspect she's probably got like chainmail on underneath the...
Yeah. That starts to feel a bit lighter, but it's also starting to feel hotter. You definitely feel lighter and faster on your feet, but if this stays as it is, you are going to start burning, literally.
So possibly as she actualizes the things that are going on, and she'll say quietly that you speak of fate. However, none of your actions are going to change your own, as this fight will end here. She'll remove her sort of go on, brain work. I know it's late. Blindfold and headdress, and in a sort of shock as somebody who's seen one of the nuns in the temple. They all look exactly the same. They're almost like they're all clones of each other. That's like a sort of reveal. And she'll slam the larger of the two swords almost telekinetically behind Lightcaster in front of her, and then charge with the sword and attempt to some sort of attack which will smash into her and then smash her into the sword behind it.
So did I just catch that right? All the nuns in this place, including you, look the same.
Yes, let's go with that. This might be a relatively big revelation for.
Yeah, that is a big revelation. I like that hits a nice bit of gothic and surreal. If you have a fighting spirit point room to gain one, it maxes at 5. I would let you gain one for that. Yeah, go and give me an athletics roll +1 because you are being heated up.
I think the buff spell is called Heat at the moment.
Oh, we are still in the realm of mixed success here. That's okay though. I think what that does is Nazelle locks blades with you, essentially, and as you kind of like struggle, as you two struggle, she's not able to kind of like pay attention to her surroundings properly because she's focused on trying to hold off the gigantic sword. This might be an opportunity to land an attack on her while she's distracted, but it might not last for very long. Ratri, do you want to go and take a swing?
Sure. Kniphofia, do you mind if I use a point of our summon?
Put quite a lot in, we should use them.
Cool. So I think Ratri's going to kind of surge forward and so this person is the esthetician of music, and Ratri is a violinist and understands music, and as they surge forward, a spout of fire kind of comes in through one of the stained glass windows and of circles their feet, and they begin kind of dancing to the tune and through the tune, and kind of just speeds up towards what's her name, Nozelle?
Yes, Nazelle, yeah.
Kind of dancing, kind of in tune with her magic to strike.
Heck yeah.
I would like to argue that this is acting, because
I
they
get
are
this
dancing.
because you're doing specifically a performance here. That makes sense to me. And you add just a 7 to it on top of whatever you roll.
Acting. Submit and 2. Oh,
You needed that 7.
okay. I'm going to spend a point of fighting spirit to make that
to make that an 8. Absolutely, it's a full success. As you, everybody's burning up right now, as you also kind of enshrine yourself in the flame. What is the specific strike in your dance?
Oh, it's definitely a kick. It's kind of a kind of graceful, I'm kind of imagining something like ballet, kind of the leap, graceful land on the point of the toe. You can't see it, but I am doing the toe point underneath my table, and then just a high kick, foot covered in flame.
You catch her in the jaw, and she kind of reels back, losing the blade lock against Louella, and the blade manages to then push into her chest, tearing off one of the sleeves of her immaculate kind of military style jacket.
Who's out of style now?
Ooh, she's mad at that. She does another gesture. Multiple benches in the room then suspend gravityless and then start to fling themselves at speed towards Ratri. If somebody doesn't do something, Ratri's probably going to be pelted with a lot of heavy wood.
No, they're not. I'll go ahead and use one of my summon points, and as these fling past, there's just this sudden, like, huge root that breaks out of the ground and literally just wraps around you like a cocoon. Just kind of wraps around, holds you in place, and will block the attacks.
Nice. Let's escalate things a bit. Yeah, they kind of like are snatched out of the air. You can see they're straining against it as these things are trying to move, but the roots are holding them in place. As Nazelle, I think, floats into the air, and you see that there is, as she raises into the air, there is apparently a third eye has opened on her forehead as she did all this, and now that she's now floating in the air, it just gradually closes again as she regains focus and composure. She has taken a point of damage. Who wants to go next?
I think I might have a relatively sedate turn as wheeling back from doing a quick flip and landing amongst the shattered ruins of some of the benches. I'll reach sort of into the side of her robes. It's starting to possibly glow a little bit now, as this could end quite poorly. Pull out a couple of vials. She'll pop the top off, and she will summon one of her elements, which is going to be she'll pour out what looks like mercury out of these things, which will, rather than point down, sort of pour upwards and just form into like a perfectly spherical mirror-like ball that will just hover above her.
Yeah. What's it called?
Let's have a look. I'm trying not to say Quicksilver.
I mean, I was going to say, that seems like a pretty
I think Quicksilver works. We'll go with Quicksilver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a Marvel and copyright strike on your channel on top.
It's fine if Square Enix isn't coming for me for this. Yeah, you summon Quicksilver. How many points of summon points are you spending? 2! Yes. So this thing can also automatically spend a point to protect from something taking damage, but you can also use it to augment rolls. Kniphofia, you haven't done anything in a little bit. Wagwan.
Okay, so I suppose she's up in the air, right, and stuff's not blowing. Knifeofia's going to be sort of like running there back because, like, sort of setting down sigils. So if she decides to try and land anywhere, it might go badly for her.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you trying to do this quickly, or are you doing it fast, or are you doing it big? I think is what I'm asking.
I'm doing it big.
Okay, give me an Arcana roll then, please. A 7. Mixed success. Do you want to push that?
I would.
Absolutely. Tell me what these spell papers look like as they're scattered across the floor.
And they're like, they look like almost little icons of like bonfires, and like flames and things, and they're like on little they're on like quite nice paper. They're just like little squares, and some of them are like they look pretty harmless on their own, but as like the camera zooms out, it just shows like how many of them there are, and like the fact that they're all in like a bigger sigil. And it's just like the character for fire.
I see. Hito. That sounds good. I like that.
It might not be obvious to someone who's busy doing other things.
So Nazelle, currently unbothered, cool and calm as a cucumber, third eye firmly closed, unstressed, repositions herself, puts her conductor's baton at Ratri, and you feel the gravity getting way heavier. Not just in a kind of like, oh, I can't jump very high anymore. You feel your bones start to kind of like bend under the sheer pressure of gravity in this bubble you're being put under. What do you do?
I guess Ratri is going to try and resist by... I mean, she's a light conjurer. I'm a darkness conjurer. Natural opposites just kind of like push their power like outwards, trying to like counter it. Do I want to take... I guess if I succeed in this, would this be an attack or a...
This is an opportunity to not take fighting spirit to damage. This is
Cool.
Yeah. We're trying not to get clapped here. If you do especially well, you know, you might be able to deal some revenge damage or something, who knows.
We have so many points in that thing. I'm going to spend another one, if that's okay.
Go for it. It's there for a reason.
Arcana?
Yes, please. Ooh, yeah, you're gonna need that 7, friend.
Fighting spirit it though is now the question.
Yes.
Get the fight for it anyway.
Let's go.
Yeah, I like this. Like, it actually, you feel like a bone in your shin break from the sheer kind of like pressure underneath this, and gritting your teeth, you still manage to channel the darkness within yourself as you then push this gravity light aura back out, panting. This, and she raises an eyebrow. She's impressed.
I think Ratri is just like very angry.
Yeah. Don't be impressed at me. Just die. God. He wants to go take an action. Like, all of this is going. Meanwhile, outside, the Funk is just going ham, destroying fingers. Like, the head of this like older god is starting to try and rise up out of the earth, and is just trying to push the head back down. Yeah. Desperately trying to keep this this dead god under wraps in the background.
I think it should be time for Ratri's counter attack.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to bring it back to him?
Do you want to take it?
Wait, what am I doing?
You can try and counterattack now if you want. That was just to defend yourself. You're not necessarily taking a turn here.
Oh. Sure, I guess like I'll push the wave of darkness like closer towards her.
I like the idea of you trying to put her in a bubble of your own making, in the same way that she's been making these gravity bubbles in the space.
Oh, actually, maybe I'm trying to push her towards one of your bonfires.
Ooh, there we go. Go give me an Arcana
Bring it back
+1.
down to earth.
Sorry, Arcana +1?
Yeah, because we're using an item in the space that's been helped to assist you. Hey, full success.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we see her. What does it look like when she's like shoved back towards one of these spell papers?
So I'm thinking, like, you know, that sort of wave as Ratri sort of plays. It's that, like, there's a moment where she's like calm and impressed, and then there's sort of like the darkness sort of like keeps swooping out at her, and like it kind of hits her, and she has to sort of like duck and twist, and she hits the floor, and like there's a moment where she starts to get back up and like think she's safe, and then she suddenly looks down and she realizes she's stood on this little paper figure. and then just the camera has to cut back because there's a lot of fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is a kind of like big whoosh of column of flame, just like we saw before, and inside the column, it kind of like this big burning column. And you're like, yeah, we got her. She's dead. That would have killed anybody. And it's pushed to the side. All the flames being kind of pushed away. She's panting heavily. The third eye is open again. A weakness has presented itself.
Ooh.
I know that Moo is like acting as team support, but do you want to kind of take a crack at seeing if you can deal some damage here?
I might try and whack him in the face. I might go ahead and attempt to, while all this is going on, keeping an eye on things, seeing this opening just quickly with one of my limbs that is not currently ingrained, pull out my my flail and see if I can get a quick strike in.
Ooh. Give me an athletics roll to make that strike. A suggestion. Because we have another elemental that's floating around made of metal, do you want to turn that flail into like razor wire?
Yes, I would. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, go make your athletics roll, and there's just an extra 7 on top of it.
Heck yeah. I imagine it's angled so that the ropes like pass through that like orb bubble, and as the ropes pass through, they then kind of like solidify and sharpen. If that sounds about right.
Yep.
You needed that 7.
I did need that 7 because it was not the best roll in the world. Sweet.
All right. Yeah. No, you get lashed with the now metallic flail branch. Her kind of immaculate appearance now absolutely destroyed with cuts and scars and dribbling bits of loose like liquid metal on her appearance as she is kind of like crawling towards all of you now, pushed towards the ground with a force of darkness on top of her. Hold on. Because we're getting pretty big here. Let's go for
more intense.
Yeah. Let's go for this. As she's like, I will not be defeated so easily. Final attack. Symphony of collapse. And like there is a big white bubble that radiates throughout everybody and kind of envelops the entire space. And then everything starts to lose gravity. All of you start to free float. The various things in the room start floating separately. The structure of the building, with that force of being pushed outwards, columns and the like are starting to crumble as things are falling apart. And she is, with a snap of my fingers, I'm going to implode this entire thing. A note. When a elemental is made with 3 or more summon points, it is able to attack and damage all foes in a scene and then is immediately dispelled, ignoring openings.
Yeah.
What if, again, weird idea. So her final attack was called like Symphony of Claps.
Yes.
And my immediate thought was, oh, what if we just clapped sarcastically?
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you'll want to like spend the rest of Funk on taking out Nazal, because I guess once she's gone, the like old god will like stop doing
also,
its
starting
thing.
to run out of time, so we're giving you a gimme
my
here.
thought was that it attacks everything in the scene, right?
Oh,
Attacks on
that's
foes in the scene, yeah.
Scene.
So like we're all like clapping sarcastically as like Funk just goes to town.
I was gonna think if the folk grabs the lot of us with its gigantic hand and like whisks us out of the sea into the Etherlock.
I mean, potentially. There might be some other people in this building who, you know, are not, you know, involved in this. But
I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, I suppose what I'm trying to say is, like, if we do like an attack against everybody, but that attack is effectively make them run away.
But I guess they're not foes, so they won't be like affected.
They won't be
so they'll
targeted
fine.
by the attack, but obviously if you bounce and just let this entire building collapse, they probably might die.
How?
I was hoping we could use Funk to basically area effect everybody out. But
How likely is it going to be for my defensive summon to be able to shield the innocent individuals in here?
Oh, okay, I see. I get you. I mean, under current circumstances, we're playing Calvin Ball while we wrap up the story, so I'm into that. You still have a summon point remaining on that summon, so you absolutely can shield a person from harm that will just be like, yeah, person. Person.
Or what we could do is 2 for a distracting setup. As I said, if it's there's been a lot of music. Metal's very good at making sort of a horrible dissonance if you use it correctly. If we combine sort of leftover bit of summon energy I've got with the rather large one that your 2 characters are created, we might be able to make something a bit spectacular to effectively counter her final attack.
Okay. So, what I'm understanding here is that rather than trying to defeat her before she collapses the cathedral in on itself, you're going to find a way to kind of protect everybody from the cathedral being collapsed. So,
yeah.
Okay, it's not an attack roll then. I guess this is who's taking point to make this Arcana roll, I guess.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Sure, Kniphofia, go for it. So go make an Arcana roll, and I guess if we're using Muse summon point of Yggdrasil and Louella's summon point of Quicksilver, you'll add 2 7s to whatever your roll is.
it'd probably be a 7. But let's find out.
Let's find out. Yes, your top result is indeed a 7.
Triple 7s. Lucky.
Would you like to spend two points of fighting spirit to make 2 of those 7s 2 8s for a crit?
I actually would.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
makes sense.
that Kniphofia is going to sort of like try to weave this spell together, and there's all like the brushes going everywhere, and it's like splattering people with ink and paint. And like you'll notice that the sort of tips of his petals are starting to smolder as he's pouring like all his power into this.
Let's kick in the True Mirror again, because this is clearly hero theme. Excellent.
I hope this works. No, this is going to work for Fu.
There's this big whirling around of metal, and I think because we're using the branches of Yggdrasil, they are drawing like additional spell circles alongside the one that you're drawing with your brush. And in the kind of like cracks that are being carved into the space with this swirling around, it then fills in with the liquid metal. And Nozel Coda, the aesthetician of song, goes, Symphony of Collapse! Of Collapse! There's the sound of creaking and heaving, but there's nothing really kind of happens. You know what, whatever.
It looks like you hit the wrong note.
She
That put is
stares.
going to be worth damage.
She stares at me. She stares at me. There is a long silence. She's like, this is stupid, honestly. She goes and uses gravity to pick up one more pew, flings it through the stained glass window of fate, and then just kind of hops out the window going, she just jumps out of the window. It's facing the sea, so she just kind of jumps away and assumedly falls in the ocean, but you don't see.
She fully Glinda outs.
Yeah. She's just like, no, you've defeated me this time, rowdy teens.
Well, hopefully we'll never see her again, Fufu.
We managed to succeed in our we cut to later. We cut to later. It is now night in the seaside town of Ossuary by the sea. There is a festival that is happening in the town plaza where the fountain is. As your old mate Scaldrus, the incredibly tall researcher scientist, comes up and he's like, well done, everybody. You have done a fantastic job at repelling the imminent threat. I didn't realize they were going to summon a dead god, which is strange because I suppose I've been living on the ribs of one for the last couple years. How bizarre.
Hey, Mew always says sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, Fufu.
I do wonder whether that would be considered offensive to your colleague here, but never mind. So, I do suppose I did say that we were bargaining that I would be able to give you information in exchange of you doing community service rather than giving me bling or whatever. Pans up. This entire conversation is still, you just kind of see the bottoms of his trousers and shoes. Pans up. He's got even more gems on now, rings on every finger. He's just stunting as it pans back down. I was very, very busy while you were away fighting and some such. But yes, what was the question you wanted to ask, I suppose?
What was the question again, Fufu?
I believe there was something to do with this lunar orb of sorts, and what exactly the villainous organization were going to do with such orb, and what we can do to stop it.
Oh, yes. Well, there are 8 different lunar orbs, and this is like an explanation of setting that you heard really early in Disc 1 and you don't need to hear again.
Thankfully, it's skippable this time.
Yes.
That's its golden sun, it's not.
No, it's not. Craig just has to explain the setting again. But I have actually been very, very secretive and have managed to sequester one of these lunar orbs away. Pans up, removes from one of the sockets in the necklace the lunar orb that was just kind of in the character sprite the entire time and nobody really paid attention to it. Bends down, gives it to Ratri. Goes, here you go, kiddo.
What element is it? Or does it not have a element specific?
I think this one is the Oh, no, I'll let you choose. You get to choose what it is.
Or do you just roll a d8?
Oh, that's a
we
good
can just
idea.
Roll, Ratri, go roll me a d8. What lunar orb is this? I need to know.
How do I...
You can just roll with one yeah, there we go. Perfect. 1. It is the lunar orb of fire.
Oh, it kind of drops into my hand, and I look to Kniphofia, and I just kind of hold it out, and I say, I think you should hold... Okay, I think you should hold on to this, as I hold out the orb to you.
I hold down the orb to me.
Oh, sure, go give the fire orb to the other fire conjurer, you know, like we're all the same, whatever.
What am I going to do with it? What do you expect me to do with it?
You're supposed to collect them all and save for the day, you idiot!
I'm not talking to you anymore. Goodbye.
Close the dialogue window. Walk away.
And
You
the
know,
camera
so there may be
pans
another four
up to
party
the
members
sky as we see. I think we. Oh, cool. Yes, no, absolutely. Give me a sec. Good.
I've got a phrase for all you. Yeah. So yeah, Kniphofia going to sort of look around and be like, "Well, we could collect them all, and you know we work well together, so we could collect them all as a team of heroes."
And do you all kind of share in that cheer, or nah? Do you just let Kniphofia leave Kniphofia hanging?
Leave them hanging.
I think Ratri will share.
Yeah, you've grown closer this arc.
I have to take the opportunity to stand on the sort of the cliffside, sort of wind blowing through the freed hair, so I can then sort of turn to the group and smile. So, yes, to adventure.
To adventure, indeed.
The camera pans up to the sky. It's a beautiful starry night. We see the water moon in full tonight as it peers down upon you all, and then very briefly, it looks like an eye as it observes all of you. Fate has foreseen this outcome, and that will be this session of Ballad of Conjurers. Yay! We did it! Nice. Oh, that was good. Oh my gosh.
That was really fun.
I realize that we're running a hair over time now, but if folks would like to stay for comments and kudos, which is a thing that we like to do whenever we do a tabletop RPG session, I like to go around the table and everybody says one cool thing that another player did. And then we use that to kind of wrap up our sessions usually. So if folks would like to stick around, grand. Cool. I mean, up top, I'm just so glad that all of you kind of stepped up to the plate for testing this with me live on air, because obviously this is a game that is still on the edge of being finished to go out, but it's still in development. So there was a chance that this game might have been very bad. So the fact that you were all willing to go step up is something that I really, really appreciate. And your mastery and like knowledge of the genre and being able to play with me and kind of like, oh, and it's like this too. Remember how games are like this kind of BS? We all kind of let into that, and that was fantastic. I loved that. That was so good. I really enjoyed how on board everybody was for this kind of collaborative piece of storytelling, and how well everybody kind of stayed within the session tone. I think that kind of like, I think everybody kind of kept to that real easily. Nice revelations, balancing dramatic with silly. Excellent. Love that. Yes. Who wants to go give some kudos?
A few things I just really loved. So yeah, I think Ray did a great job of Muse, like being the sort of like, you know, a wise older character who's kind of like not like dismissive of the others, but was just sort of like, you know, quiet mentor. It was really nice. I really loved some of like the reveals and stuff with Louella, and that thing with like launching out through the top of the car, and, like,
yeah,
you know, launching swords and stuff. It was damn cool. I just also really liked the Ratri and Kniphofia kind of bonded, and it was just a really nice moment because we were like complete opposite ends of the the sort of narrative spectrum at the beginning. It was just really lovely to play. So thank you all for making that happen, and you know, thanks to Nathan for running it.
No problem. It's been a while since I've run something super improv-y. So it was probably took a second to get me into gear, but we got there and it was sick. Right, go ahead.
I was going to say absolute crazy as well, David. Maintaining that sort of high level of energy all the way through and not dropping your catchphrase for the entirety of it, because that's always a pain in the neck when you're having to remember that well sustained.
Not a problem.
Just to interrupt very briefly. Hi, everybody who's raided from Shanghai's stream. Hello. Welcome. We have just we're wrapping up our ending of talking of our session, but we're still kind of doing some table talk and things like that. We're having a big heavy discussion about because this game is inspired by JRPGs of the early 2000s. We're going to be looping back to that and talking about that a bit. So if you want to bathe in the nostalgia, stick on the line because we've still got chat to go. But yes. Big energy from Dave in how you managed to maintain the mascot character, because I won't lie, the mascot character is the most annoying character in every
I was trying.
Yeah. I love Persona 4, but Teddy, good God.
Yes. It's like wonderful.
It's actually it's like, oh good, wonderful. It's still annoying.
So I'm glad you were able to channel the energy of that character, but also not actually be annoying. There is definitely a way of doing that kind of character archetype in the tabletop RPG and doing it badly. And you definitely did not do that. So thank you very much for being able to keep that energy and still keep it fun and high energy. Thank you. Any more? Who else wants to go next for kudos?
Mine's kind of like a blanket compliment, so it's a little cheaty, but I really enjoyed people leaning into their unorthodox creativity as well as leaning into like the JRPG side of things. So like taking something that would be a usual concept in a regular RPG and then just going wild with it. The whole idea of like the metal element, like stretching that into like this liquid mercury and having that being a core part of the way that your character presented. The mixture of like, yes, edgy darkness, but also having this contradicting like beautiful side and mixed with the darkness and the music. This aspect of fire, yes, which is destructive, but also making it creative and leaning into that whole like the painting side of things and that kind of that energetic style of things, and pulling that away from like your more traditional side of your elements and like just leaning into it and being creative and fun with it. Like that made things, one, incredibly enjoyable, and two, a lot cooler to kind of bounce ideas off of. And you could see that with everyone, yourself included, Nathan, just everyone bouncing off of each other. It made for good fun. It was super enjoyable.
I think you really set the scene with that first NPC and set the tone quite well. Like how weird we were gonna go. Like, really go.
I was kind of like, okay, so they need to be gothic, whimsical, and surreal, but still endearing and somebody you want to work with, right? So it's kind of like, okay, we need to build this disastrous noodle of a scientist researcher. Rook. Any kudos you want to give?
Like my specific ones for like everyone have like already been said, but like as just a general like kudos, like with like high improv games, like sometimes like things can like stall out, but I really enjoyed how like every single person at this table, like whenever they like got the reins to be creative, they like took it and they held on and they did the most with it. And also that like no one was afraid to just take the reins, like, nope, this is what's happening. And like that's always so nice, like in like a high improv game, just like everyone taking like agency in the story and in what's happening. And that was just like nice and fun to play with. Yeah.
Thank you. theoretically, you could run this system with pre-planning. You know, this system is conducive to scenario writing, but I don't get the opportunity because, you know, when we do campaigns and stuff on channel, it's a bit more structured because we have all the assets and stuff that need to be put together, and that's really fun to do. But sometimes having the opportunity being like, I'm just gonna do the lightest amount of prep so there is a soundtrack that we have, and then otherwise just kind of like go ham, was a lot of fun. So I really appreciate everybody stepping up to the plate. Is there any bits, because obviously this game is in development still, I'm hoping to maybe release, I'm giving myself early April to release this, so I can kind of put together the PDF throughout March and not like crunch myself into making something that doesn't need to be crunched for. But yeah, we're still in the process of kind of neatening things up, tightening some bolts and screws. I think the core of this game is here and it works and it plays. I don't think we ran into anything where we were like, this isn't working, oh no. But you know, how do we feel about the system? This is an opportunity to kind of make further tweaks if tweaks are needed.
I think this might just, again, because I've been playing some harsh games at the moment, I think maybe scope being a bit harsher on forcing people to take hits to their fighting spirit, potentially. Because I had a bit of this when I ran it myself, that it's like, don't want to do it on every fail. No, that seems a bit too harsh. But I think the onus becomes a bit more on the GM to try and get players to spend it or take it off the players. But that'd be my sort of thing with it.
It's always a kind of a weighing up on how much fighting spirit you want to spend to boost your rolls. Because when it's like a 6 or a 7, you're like, yeah, no, we can spend it. That if it's a 5, you're like, I don't know if I really want to spend any of that on it or not.
Yeah, no.
Those kind of things. Or maybe it's even spending the fighting spirit to push it up from a 4 to a 5, so it goes from a failure to a mixed success. It's kind of like, you know, it's designed for those kind of opportunities, but your willingness to kind of spend kind of fluctuates depending on I noticed a thing when we were playing Heartbeats in Perfect Sync, where one of my previous RPGs that I've designed, where everybody's current heart rate is kind of visible and known to everybody at all times, and it makes people very aware of how much they're spending and where they're at. And I don't know whether it's something that I can really entrench in the rules that make it clear that everybody can see what everybody's fighting spirit is, but maybe having a bigger emphasis on being aware what everybody's fighting spirit level is kind of encourages people to play with it more. I don't know, because I don't know how I would necessarily make the thing harder as it currently stands. Maybe increasing the window of failure from 1 to 4 to 1 to 5, small mathsy bits, but yeah. So thing to think about on how to make this game a bit more challenging, if at all. I like the fact that mixed successes are really common because it still means you largely get what you want but push the story forward, which is, you know, a lot of things that sometimes high fantasy games struggle to do, where you flounder in somebody needs to roll high enough to kind of push things forward. So I like mixed successes for that reason. Yeah, thing to think on. Thank you.
I feel like with like Heartbeats, kind of like the situation is a bit different because your like resource like is your health and your attack pool. So like there are like benefits to like shifting it up, and there are benefits to shifting it down depending on the situation. Whereas like fighting spirit just kind of, rather than feeling like health, it just kind of felt like a kind of like a consumable resource we kind of had, and like you know, the whole thing with like RPG players and like potions. They don't get used. They're just sitting there.
I mean, perhaps if there was some sort of like more set refresh of it. So like you always, if you win a battle, you get one back. So that way people, you're like, oh, I'll spend one, and then they get into the habit of spending them, and then they might spend more if that's.
Yeah, no, I can definitely, you know, because there's already some text in the document about circumstances where your fighting spirit refreshes on narrative scenes, and I can definitely add a section in there on mechanical circumstances. When you clear a major obstacle, everybody receives one. Yeah, I get you. Cool.
It's like we have the same problem with inspiration in a lot of D&D games that I play, is that because it's not given out, and if you're giving it out and someone's already full, well, they're just losing it. And that's a good thing because it means that they're willing to spend it. So they know that they've wasted it because they didn't use it. And I think that could work. It may put too much onus on people to use it, but I think if we've got it, I don't think it would bounce too far the other way, if that makes sense.
There is also the potential of making the pool of fighting spirits smaller. So it's like, if it's using it is both a boon and a risk, because pushing something from potentially a success to a crit is a big deal. So maybe if there is the fewer points of it to go around, you're more inclined to do circumstances when you get it back. Yeah. Okay. Hell yeah.
Quickly with openings, I wasn't always sure when we had an opening, and a few times we seem to stack openings, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I wonder if this is if this was something that I had the additional production time to prepare, or if they were doing this physically. I would have somewhere visibly representing the fact that how many encounters you have and whether they have an opening or not in eyeline. But because this one was like fully theater of the mind, it was less kind of like a clear. Partially that might be on me being really descriptive of when openings have occurred and being directly saying an opening has presented itself.
But sort of like so the mixed success roles in the opening description in the text weren't that clear, so I wasn't sure if I was like missing something, and so it might be something to tighten up a little bit.
Sure. Because there's a note in the combat section being kind of like mixed successes in creating openings might be temporary or put people in danger, but I can make that a par to itself to make
it could be like they exist but they are dangerous or something like that. I don't know.
Currently, as reading it through, when trying to create an opening, a mixed success may mean the opening won't be available for long or is dangerous to exploit. But I can kind of make that more textual, being kind of like, an opening will only be available for a single roll. That kind of thing. Yeah. I can continue to tweet. The finer text of this is probably going to change a lot once I start putting it into a PDF and I have to start working with space. Anyway, I'm realizing that I'm keeping you for we've been streaming for almost 4 hours, so I will definitely wrap.
Oh God, it's off.
Okay then.
Tabletop RPGs run longer than one would expect. Although I think we managed to keep this we had a little bit of a longer start while we were getting our tech up and running. But yeah, no, that's not your fault at all. It's technology's fault, not your fault in any stretch of the imagination. And I'm glad you made it. That's the most important thing. Right. Let's go and prepare to move over to somebody. Since we've been playing a Final Fantasy-ass game, let's pass over to Noobtunes, who is a Final Fantasy 14 streamer and a member of Black Twitch UK. Let's go and do that. Yes, there we go. They're currently doing word games on their break while they're taking a bit of break. So yeah, no, go give them your best. I have been the androgynous android game show host from the future, Caster. Who have you been, Rook?
I have been Rook. I've been edgy violinist Ratri, and I've had a great time.
Who have you been, Dave?
I've been Kniphofia, the hero Spriggan. I'm Dave. I've possibly got a game that I'm doing next. I'm trying to get the game sort of crowdfunded, but I'm not entirely sure how to do it yet.
Well, there are plenty of people in the community that could definitely help with those bits and pieces for sure. We have everybody's Twitter handles on screen at the moment, so you can go follow these beautiful people. Who have you been, Ray?
I've been Ray. I've also been Moo, our resident tree friend. Yeah, this was super fun, and our ats are down there somewhere.
Yeah, and very quickly, who have you been, Tom?
I've been Louella, the slightly goth fallen saint of stabbing people with big swords.
And with that, we're going to bid you all good night. We will see you all in the future soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay.